Indianapolis Center, do you have any test operation to restricted area 2508?
Aries 31, roger. Traffic is quite luminous and is exhibiting some non-ballistic motion, over.
Roger, Aries 31. Continue descent at your discretion, over.
Okay, Center. The traffic is approaching head-on, ultra bright, and really moving. They're right by us right now.
There are 1,000 UFO sightings reported around the world every month. 90% of these sightings can be explained, but 10% cannot. Officially and unofficially, the U.S. military has been investigating UFOs since 1947. Their top secret goal is to find out what's behind these unexplained sightings. The Pentagon classifies them as unusual airborne anomalies, but a better term is X-Files. Join us now as Mack Maloney and Commander Cobra explore these unsolved cases, UFO incidents that baffle even the U.S. military. This is Mack Maloney's Military X-Files. And now, here's Mack Maloney.
Well, good evening, everyone. Welcome to Mack Maloney's Military X-Files show here on the Distant Thunder Radio Network. Hey, this is Mack Maloney. What a show we have for you tonight. But first, let me introduce you to the members of the gang. Girls, get ready, sit down, get your mister, your fan, your big box of Kleenex, your extra big box of wipes, and a squeegee, because he's here, the very famous Juan.
Hey, Mac, how's it going? Glad to be here. Glad to be anywhere, as a matter of fact. But
yes,
great to be here as always. As I live for this show.
So do we. Okay. Now for the bad news. No Coco tonight. No Coco tonight. Sorry, Mil Skills and Gigi Gills. He's on a secret mission. He will be back next week. Going sideways on the totem pole.
Oh, wait a minute, Mac.
Yes.
I got to stand up and show you what I'm wearing.
Oh, wow. A new Rolling Stones T-shirt.
Where did I get that T-shirt?
From one of your fans.
Yes.
You're an anonymous fan.
It's awesome.
Also, going sideways on the totem pole, Switchblade Steve Ward is here with us, national correspondent.
What's the sideways nonsense?
Anyway? I don't know. I'm getting letters. I don't care. Oh, brother. Oh my goodness.
The great reveal.
Here we go.
I'm feeling intelligent tonight.
Yeah, you look it too.
Yeah.
I don't know why.
Yeah, you look like Einstein.
Switchblade Steve Ward up there.
I kind of feel like Einstein. I think we're going to change that E equals MC squared thing. Yeah. At least change the letters.
Yeah, change it around. Yeah. Switch it up a little bit.
Maybe even cube it.
Up there
it looks like your brain exploded.
Michigan. Okay.
But it happens frequently.
It happens, really. Okay.
We'll tell you why, but
he's taking this rug thing a little bit too seriously, but he's dressed a little bit like Andy Warhol takes acid with Einstein. I think that would be the result. And he's also wearing a Saucer Man T-shirt. So he's in fifth gear already. Let me go further up or over or sideways on the totem pole. Our security chief, Willy Clubb, is with us. Willy.
Hey, Mac.
How you doing?
Hey, gang. Great to be here tonight.
Okay. Hey, Clubb. What's going on, man?
Looking distinguished as usual.
A little bit of everything. This is always the big night of the week for me, so
I know
interesting.
Couldn't wait for it to get here this week.
Oh, wow. Okay. Good to know.
Yeah.
What kind of a life do you have, Clubb?
I was going to say.
You could read into that.
Sounds like my life.
I was going to ask that, too.
Sorry, Mac.
Particularly when I come in, I have to look at you with your new rugs.
His new system.
Well,
Also,
you know what?
Joining us,
Amazon, they don't charge too much for rugs. So.
It looks good.
$15.
The lawn looks good. Don't worry.
You overpaid.
Joining us, oh man, joining us in the studio tonight is our good friend UFO mechanic Al Renaldo is here. Al, how you doing?
Very good, Mac. Yeah. Hello, folks.
Speak right into that.
How come I'm being introduced before Raven? I feel
well because it's the beast first, then the beauty.
Oh, I was going to say the thorns before the rose.
Right,
but,
exactly.
Well,
I was don't worry about me. I can be introduced whenever.
Yeah. Okay, well, I'm just saying.
All right, that voice you hear is our good friend, our favorite good witch up there in upstate New York, Raven. How you doing tonight, Raven?
Hi, my friends. I'm doing good. Thank you for having me.
I do not see a bun.
Good to see you.
No bun tonight. No bun?
No, I got it all just kind of, it just clipped to the side because the bun just wasn't working.
Wow.
Boy, and your face looks normal tonight now. You're all through with
what the hell does that mean?
Surgery there.
Oh, right.
Finally.
She had all surgery. That's true. Wow. Okay. Interesting. All right. Everything looks good. We've got requests for pictures of the bun, but we're going to have to take that up later. So tonight, the whole gang is here, and tonight we're going to be talking to famous Hollywood author Gary Olsen. Will be joining us in a little while talking about old-time science fiction movies. One of the very first movies was a science fiction movie, believe it or not, and also some of the, the good and the bad of recent TV shows, science fiction TV shows. He's an expert on that. We'll be talking to him very soon, the big G.O., Gary Olsen. Also joining us later on will be our good friend Paul Dale Roberts, who is a UFO researcher, and he was also the disco king of Sacramento, California, I think. About 10 years ago, 20 years ago.
Really cool.
He danced disco for 8 straight days or something. Even when he was in the men's room, he had to still be moving. Interesting guy. He also was part of some kind of a security unit for the Ufos, I believe, and 5 photos from satellite photos passed his desk, and he saw some very strange things. So he's going to be telling us about that. Also coming up later on will be a good friend, Ella the Psychic, is going to be joining us.
Ella, we haven't heard from her in a while.
Right, out there in Vegas. And I think that's it. Who knows what other surprises, await us. But
that's going to be good.
Before we take a break, I just want to say this thing Al and I saw today in the news. And as we are the Military X-Files show, this was truly a military X-File. The U.S. Army has come up with a new weapon called Dark Eagle, which is a very strange kind of name for any kind of weapon systems. Usually it's, some kind of odd, boring name. But this thing is now get this is a missile, a hypersonic, high-explosive missile that can, I think the range is 1,500 or 2,000 miles or something?
17 plus,
1,700 miles, okay? It's hypersonic. It goes Mach 5. Mach 5, okay? So Mach 1 is about 700 miles an hour, so do the math. This is something that cannot be shot down, can't be shot down by SAM missiles or airplanes.
You can't call it back.
Can't call it back. Well, that's a good question. Maybe there's a flaw in that.
Like in Dr. Strangelove, can you call these things back?
But the strange thing about that story, and it got into a lot of detail, I think you agree, how this thing works and where they're going to put it. And they say right in the story, this can attack China within like a second's notice. I mean, they don't make any bones about who it's going to be aimed at.
They say deep in China.
Deep in China, Yep. Going 5 miles. I mean, I don't know what that is. That's about a mile. What is Mach 5 in a minute? I think it can go 2 miles a minute, 2 miles a second? No, I don't know. We'll have to do the math.
It's ridiculous.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's like one of these weapons that, as of right now, there's no defense against it. So hang on, China. If you have any stocks in China, Clubb, might be time to sell off.
Yeah, I just put the order through.
Oh, did you? Okay, good. Good thinking. So listen, why don't we do this?
I just ordered some General Chow's chicken. You made me hungry.
Well, okay. I think they'll probably arrive before we decimate China.
If they don't run out of that.
You'll be okay. So why don't we do this? Why don't we take that's the show tonight. Why don't we take a quick break now?
It's over already?
No, just the first segment there, Lonnie. Okay, this is the foreplay.
The foreplay.
Why don't we take a quick break now, and we'll be right back. You're listening to Mack Maloney's Military X-Files show here on the Distant Thunder Radio Network. Please stay tuned.
Do you know where the world's most secret bases are located? Do you know what spooky action at a distance means? Is there a conspiracy by aliens to prevent us from conquering space? And where is the best place in the United States to see a real UFO? Find the answers to all these questions and more in Mack Maloney's new book, Mack Maloney's Haunted Universe. Visit places you never knew existed: the Phantom Tunnels of Tokyo, the UFO Trail in South America, Hong's Hat, and the very mysterious M Triangle. Mack Maloney's Haunted Universe contains hundreds of reports on ghosts, haunted planes and ships, weird celebrity deaths, mysterious sounds, and a breakdown of every monster in America, state by state. You've heard him talk about it on the radio. Now get all of Mack's paranormal research in one large volume. Mack Maloney's Haunted Universe, with a foreword by the very famous Wan Wan. On sale now in your local bookstore or on Amazon.com.
Welcome back, everyone, to Mack Maloney's Military X-Files show here on the Distant Thunder Radio Network. This is Mack Maloney. What a show we have for you tonight. Let me introduce you once again to the gang. The very famous Wan Wan is here.
Hello, Macaroni. How's it going?
Now you're making me hungry. Mac and cheese. No CC tonight. He's on a secret mission. Switchblade Steve Ward is up there in Battle Creek, Michigan, the Bullet Lake. Switchy.
Great to be here.
Okay. Also, our security chief is here, Willy Clubb.
Hi, Mac. Hi, folks. Also great to be here.
UFO, good friend UFO mechanic Al Renaldo is here.
Good evening, Mac. Good evening, all.
And we have two beauties among the beasts tonight. Our good friend Ella the Psychic out there in Vegas, our favorite redhead west of the Mississippi. Ella, how you doing?
Good, Mac. So nice to be here again.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
Ella.
Can you,
Good to see you,
Hi,
Ella.
everyone.
will you be able to take the pulse of the show as we go on? Tell us whether it's a good vibe, bad vibe, middle vibe?
Yes, I will.
Okay, thank you.
Yes.
And I should tell our fans that she is splayed on her. Oh, not splayed. I'm sorry. She's laying on her rose petal bed. I'm sorry.
I like that
They
visual.
have new lights.
You have,
Can you see them?
Yeah, let's see him. Oh, yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
very nice. Yes. Okay.
Hey, that's
wow.
kind of sexy. I like that.
Sexy is the word, I guess.
Yeah, nice touch.
The word we were looking for. Also, our good friend Raven up there in upstate New York joining us. Good witch. How you doing tonight, Raven? Bunless tonight, bunless.
No bun.
No bun.
Hi, friends. I'm doing great. I'm 4 mimosas in right now, so it's going to be interesting.
Mimosas. I don't think I've ever had a mimosa.
Right now?
I opened the bottle, so now it's like I can't save it.
Right, that's right.
Right?
And you can't waste it.
Can't waste it.
All right. So, wow. Okay, so the whole gang is here, and as it turns out, we've got our fan mail. We're going to be reading our fan mail off in a few seconds, but I happened to be on Coast to Coast AM with George Norrie last Thursday.
Nice grab. Coast to coast.
Good job.
3 in the morning till 5 in the morning, and my hat's off to Raven, who kind of helped make the connection. But the interesting thing was there were a couple of interesting things. First of all, it's a really good show. I like George. I know some people, aren't big fans of his, but I like him. He's from Massachusetts, so we have that kind of tie. But what they do in that show is they ask you to send in 15 questions, and then they'll ask you the questions. So it's easy, I've been on twice before. So we sent them in 15 questions. They were mostly about the U.S. government's report on UFOs that came out June 25th. They really didn't say anything. But I was prepared, to answer those questions. Well, 30 seconds before we go on, the producer comes on and says, hey, listen, George isn't going to want to talk about UFOs completely tonight. So, just go with the flow. Follow his lead, okay? So now for 2 hours, I got to follow his lead, right? And he's asking me everything. He asked me if I believe in the afterlife. He asked me to explain the Big Bang. The Big Bang, okay, like I know, okay? And it was really all over the map. But the interesting thing was that they reached so many people that as I'm on the show, I'm getting emails. Okay? And
Nice.
so we're gonna read a few of them tonight. So, Clubb, do you have them? There's one of them we have to kind of really take a deep dive.
Yeah, I was in fact just reading that again, trying to figure how we'll cover that tonight. But yeah, I've got some of those emails. If you'd like me to go ahead.
Let's go.
Yeah, these are pretty much following up on our discussions and other shows about the whole thing with cameos.
Yes, Cameo. We have to explain Cameo. What Cameo is this video service where celebrities and kind of celebrities will, for a fee from $50 to $400, they will send you like this kind of video message, whether it be happy birthday or good luck or congratulations or, hope you're feeling better. And you pay depending on how high up the food chain these, celebrities are, okay?
How the coolness factor is.
There's a coolness factor involved, right? So I guess that explains it. So enough for the, at least reading the fan mail, right, Clubb?
All right, well, the first one is, Dear Warnie, listen, man, you got to really corner the market with Cameo. I don't recommend the fence climbers. Maybe just get yourself a tight Siegfried and Roy type outfit.
Okay.
Get some pyro going.
Yeah.
Hit record. Then take a leak from the roof of your house into the gutter. Route it to flow right down into the driveway. Fee should be no less than $65.
$65.
Wow.
That's
I like the leak part of it. I don't know about the outfit.
He likes the leak part. Okay.
I'm okay with the leak part.
I
My
love that
bladder's
they
really
chose
working good.
$65.
$65. Okay.
Like
65.
they did their research on
Wait a minute.
all of those steps.
Maybe I'm not getting something. What's the number? What's the 65 got to do with it?
That's that you would charge $65 if you went up on your roof,
That's
I
what
get
you
it.
would.
urinated,
Okay. I get
and
the
then
I know it's dollars, but maybe 65 means something that I don't know what that means.
For family, you'd only charge them 60.
for family. Okay.
Family and friends.
That's a nice thought. Okay, so there you go. The family has rolled in for one. What's the
I
next
like
one
it.
there? Clubby.
Well, we got one here now again for Juan.
Oh my goodness.
If you agreed to do tasteful nudity on Cameo, I'm sure a lot of the ladies will pay to get a shadowed glimpse of your top secret torpedo technology. Best regards, anonymous but cute. So clearly your secret torpedo.
There you go, Wani. Can you read? Can you
since
read
I was
between the
using
lines?
this is submarine warfare, and Switchy would get this. My shaft maybe only has one or two screws on it.
Come on, let's read.
We'll see.
Jesus, I got to cut
That's
out
a
enough of
submarine
this.
joke.
Isn't it?
Wow. That's an underwater joke.
Okay, we all got it though.
Under something.
Under something, Ellison.
Sorry, you can bleep that out.
Secret torpedo technology. Okay, in the shadows. Okay, why don't we move on, Clubb, quickly?
Well, we got one here, Raven,
Uh-oh.
from Big Bun Fan.
Big Bun Fan.
Ooh, yes.
And he says, Dear gang, it's simple arithmetic. Raven plus cameo equals $500.
Okay.
Better than 65.
Yeah, better That's 400.
Aside for that
Calm
one.
down, okay? Like maybe 500 pennies.
No.
I would
Oh,
say.
it's got a
listen.
dollar sign.
Don't undersell yourself.
He likes big buns and he cannot lie.
There you go. That's what 500 bucks implant. Okay, all right. We'll talk about that at the post-show meeting. Okay, Clubb, what's the next one?
All right, well, as the security chief, I have to read this one very carefully, obviously, but this goes back to your coast-to-coast appearance the other night.
Yes.
And it's addressed to Dear Mac. You are a fiction writer, and we are supposed to believe you.
See? They don't.
Good point.
In the hush you wrote in on.
In the hush you wrote in on.
Wow.
Okay.
And give me a job.
Now, wait a minute. Okay.
Wait a minute.
Signed, Confused Listener.
Okay.
I
Yes,
think
He did
angry.
say best regards.
Okay, listen, why don't we just kind of analyze this a little bit, okay? Now, he wants me to have...
If he does that for fingerprints, I think somebody's had a hand in that one.
He wants me to have sex with a horse, and then...
I guess.
Yeah, and then he wants to be orally pleasured, as it turns out. Okay, well...
This is very confusing.
It
letter.
really, yeah, well, he did say he was confused.
Maybe he watched that the news thing about that kid with the horse there in southern
Oh,
Massachusetts.
okay.
I was in
don't
the
want to go
news.
there. That was in the news,
It
right?
was in the news.
Out here, a local kid was caught having sex with a horse on security
No.
camera, as it turns out.
Yeah, no, really.
Really?
Yes, I heard
Yeah.
that too.
Oh,
I heard
my
it. I
God.
didn't read it. I
Yeah.
didn't
I'm
see
going
it.
to straight up bomb.
Well,
He was
yeah,
18 years old. Yeah.
18 years old.
What?
Yep.
So you're old enough.
Gave the
to do
horse some
that.
champagne. It was really...
18
Well,
and
no,
only.
he asked her if
Yeah,
she
he
minded.
used to live on a sheep farm.
Well, he asked the horse
Oh,
if she
dear
minded, and
Lord.
she said nay.
Nay, yes.
Nay.
Yeah. Okay, so they actually checked out the horse at a horse hospital later on just to make sure everything was okay. But apparently they said the horse was eating and probably didn't know what was going on, as it
Well,
turns out.
he put a feed bag on her to
Oh,
keep her busy.
really? Yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
okay. There's the
And,
secret.
Where did that happen?
It's right in the suburb of Boston, as it turns out.
Yeah, no.
Well, I guess I would be going there.
Yeah, no,
Like
no.
Stowe or Weston or
No,
one of those suburbs?
No, it was in Alston. Oh, yeah, right. He was from Alston, right.
Yeah, I don't remember exactly the exact
So when I
location.
go to Salem, I'm just going to zip right past that place.
Well, I'll tell you. But what they don't tell you is the Huss won the next day, 10-1 at Suffolk Downs. So maybe there's something in them.
Well, they also said they they used a kid on the horse and they got viable DNA.
How about that?
So
Okay.
they know who he was before he
Yeah.
turns himself in. But
Yeah, well, either that or you escape to Alaska somewhere or something. But anyway, hey, listen, love is all around, right? So, okay, there's our fan mail. Okay, we got that out of the way. So why don't we do this? Why don't we take another quick break? Those are all the fan letters, right, Clubb? I hope.
Well, those are the ones that we wanted to cover tonight because of the cameo. But as we know,
okay.
you get so much fan mail in here and stuff. But
Okay, so
those were,
we chose to read the ones having to do with bestiality and oral sex
and insults. Yes.
Okay, and insults. Okay, good.
Nice.
Good start to the show. So look, why don't we take yet another commercial break now, when we'll be back. Our good friend Gary Olsen, very famous Hollywood writer, will be with us, talking about old science fiction movies and not so old science fiction TV shows. You're listening to Mack Maloney's Military Lifestyle Show here on the Distant Thunder Radio Network. We'll be right back after this. Welcome back, everyone, to Mack Maloney's Military Lifestyle Show here on the Distant Thunder Radio Network. This is Mack Maloney. Wow, what a show we have for you tonight. But first, very quickly, let me introduce the members of the gang. I've done it 3 times already. JJ is here. Wani is here.
Hello, Mac.
Switch is here.
Yep.
Okay, yep, okay.
Yep.
Our security chief, Willy Clubb, is here.
on board.
Okay. Our good friend, Ella the
Wait a minute,
Psychic.
on board or board?
Hey, listen,
On
come
board. I'm never bored.
Come on, meow. Our good friend, Ella, psychic from Vegas, is with us. Ella, how you doing?
Good evening.
Okay, on your
Nice
rose
to be here.
colored,
Hi, Ella.
your rose petaled bed. I don't know why I keep bringing that up, but also our Renaldo, UFO mechanic, is here.
Good evening, folks.
And also Raven, the good witch, is here. 4 mimosas into the show. 4 mimosas. What is is that orange juice and champagne, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, okay. Okay. Champagne is not my drink. I'm not a big champagne guy.
Only at weddings, really, for me.
Yeah.
Some asti.
I only like it if it's in a mimosa.
Oh yeah. It's just it's just kind of has a kind of weird taste to it to me. You know? But anyway.
Vitamin C. It's vitamin C.
It's good vitamin C, too, yeah.
No wonder I didn't recognize it. Also with us is very famous Hollywood author Gary Olsen down there in down south somewhere, south of the Mason-Dixon line. You there, Gio?
Yes, thanks for having me. It's such a humbling experience whenever I'm on the show. I just cannot believe that a little guy like me from Fredericksburg, Virginia, is in a national broadcast. So thanks for having me.
Okay, all right. That was a long journey. Thank you.
It is amazing.
Yeah, listen, okay.
Shows you that anybody can be a star in this business.
There you go. If you just
no matter
dream.
where you're from.
Yeah, follow your dreams. So, Gary, you're a famous Hollywood author. What's the name of your book, your best-selling book?
Yes, it's called The 15 Geniuses Behind the Lens, How the Greatest Film Directors Shape the Movies We See Today. You can buy it on Amazon.com, and I encourage everybody, every listener, to go out and buy one.
Okay, yes. Say the name one more time, please.
The 15 Geniuses Behind the Lens, and it's about the top 15 film directors in the history of cinema.
Now, Quentin Tarantino is not on that list, correct?
He's not on the list.
No, he's the ultimate copycat. So these are the original film auteurs, as they would say in France.
Yes.
The originals.
Yes. Is Spielberg on that list?
He is. He's a concluding chapter.
You should have made it 14 instead of 15.
Ouch.
He's a hack.
He did that really good documentary. On E.T.
You know, it's the same old thing. You know, same old thing. But anyway.
You hate everybody, Mac.
No, I don't. I don't hate him. How dare you, Mama? We can't get into another Spielberg thing tonight. Believe me, we've done it
not
before. He's a hack, and you know, he's a lucky guy.
He's a hack. Quentin Tarantino's a loser, and
yeah, right.
I was in Martha's Vineyard, and my son dove off the Jaws Bridge, which was one of the most exciting things this year that happened to me.
Been there, yeah. You dove off, or your son did?
No, my son did.
Yeah, you're too old to be doing that.
I was too scared that there were going to be sharks in the water.
All right.
But there have been sharks in the water.
There's a lot of sharks around here.
Yeah, as it turns out, down the Cape, there's a lot of great white sharks, eating all those seals. You know, I would not go in the water down there.
No. I mean, it's getting really bad. They say we're worse now than South Africa
with
as
sharks,
far as sharks. Yeah.
Jesus. Well, the cow. Okay, another reason not to go to the beach. Anyway, so Gary,
except for Plum Island.
Let's go except Plum Island, of course. Gary, so you have tonight we're going to talk about 3 very early science fiction movies, right?
They are very, very early. I mean, you would have to be 130 years old to see the premiere of these movies.
Oh, really? Good thing Coco wasn't here. Oh, I should talk about
129. I just
129. So, what's the first one, please?
Well, they are trips to either the moon or another red planet in the solar system. And, of course, the first one that I would like to just briefly talk about, everybody's seen it, is the 1902 George Méliès, A Trip to the Moon. That's if everybody's got an image of the space capsule approaching the moon, and then all of a sudden the face of the moon comes up, and lo and behold, the space capsule just hits the moon pie.
Like a big pizza pie, yeah.
And so that came from the 1902 A Trip to the Moon.
Was it the first movie? Was that one of the first movies ever made?
That was the first science fiction short movie. It was about 15 minutes long. It was pretty ambitious back in that time. What I find fascinating, of course, that was before liquid gas, I guess, to power up a rocket. So the early movies showed that the rockets would be propelled to outer space via a cannon, and that's what happens here.
Cool. Wow. A cannon. That's a big freaking cannon, man.
Isn't that how Jules Verne launched his from the Earth to the Moon in the novel?
Yes, it is, and that's how they got the idea from the movie.
A big cannon. Cool. You know, they had a not that this has anything to do with it, but they had a Navy ship around the Spanish-American War, and it was run by dynamite. They actually used to shoot dynamite out of a cannon.
Wow.
Yeah, they used it during the battles in Cuba or whatever. But what they found out is that a lot of times the dynamite would blow the gun up first,
Well,
okay, as you're throwing dynamite. Sounded like a good idea. It didn't quite work out. So anyway,
I do want to mention one thing.
Go.
That the movie was based also on an 1834, I believe. I could be off by a couple of years. A New York World newspaper hoax. It was originally published as a real story of these astronauts that went to the moon and were confronted by moon people living in caves underneath the surface. And George Méliès had based the entire movie on a hoax that after several editions, which, by the way, the newspaper flew off the shelf, the publisher finally admitted that nobody went up to the moon and nobody saw space aliens on the moon. So.
Okay. Okay.
Fake news.
That is cool. 1902.
So, okay, what was the next one there?
Well, the last two I want to talk about was a Trip to Mars. Both of them were called A Trip to Mars. Somehow we have a fascination about going to Mars. I don't know why we don't colonize the moon first, but we just kind of, a lot of people want to skip the moon thing and just go right to Mars, even though it looks to me like it's Southwest America. I don't know what's so attractive about going to Mars. But anyways, it was a 1910 movie made by the Thomas Edison Company, filmed in West Orange, New Jersey. And they had a novel idea. Instead of using a capsule being catapulted by a cannon, the scientist, or actually this chemist, said that he found two chemicals that if you combine it together, it will propel you into outer space. So that's what happened. He accidentally spilled the two chemicals on him, and before you know it, he was propelled past the moon into Mars.
Wow, was one of the chemicals LSD by any reason?
You know, when I was
maybe
looking,
he just thought he went there.
6-minute film, but when I was looking at it, I felt like I was taking LSD.
There was actually a, if you remember, in World War II, the Germans had these rocket planes towards the end of the war.
Me-262s.
Yeah, 262s with the jets. Me-400s. They were literally rocket planes, and what they did was the same thing he's talking about. They got two chemicals. One was called T-Stoff, one was called S-Stoff. And when you put them together, there was such a chemical reaction that it would create a rocket blast.
Wow.
But they were so unstable that the rules of any air base that these planes were at, the T-Stoff had to be stored at one end of the air base, and the S-Stoff had to be stored at the other end of the air base. Because even if just one little molecule of them came together, boom. Okay.
Oh, my God.
Yeah, that was really a kind of desperate wonder weapon. So anyway, wow, that's how they bypassed Moon, went to Mars. That's interesting, Gary.
Yeah, and when he went up there, it was not a delightful planet to be. There were these huge. He first ends up in a huge forest that these trees, like cypress trees and redwood forests in California.
Sounds good.
But on the top, it had human heads and arms, and so he had to kind of scatter himself out of there. The special effects are pretty good for 1910.
1910, yeah, really.
And then this big, he starts climbing up this hill, but it ends up being on a face of a huge Martian. I mean, this thing was gigantic.
Yes.
And the Martian ends up blowing onto him, and I know it sounds crazy, but he turns into a snowball. Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
That's how he gets back to Earth. He somehow gets propelled back to Earth by the snowball.
Wow.
So who was the director of this? Who put it together? You said it was a Thomas Edison company.
Yeah, I was just an employee. I would love to say it was Edwin Porter, the main director of Thomas Edison's studio, but I can't.
It was Quentin Edison.
Who was
Quentin Edison?
Quentin Edison.
Quentin, yeah. Get it, Quentin.
How many people have heard Quentin Edison?
Well, it sounds like something that QT would put on the end of his movie. Let's go to Mars. How are we going to get back? Let's just say it's a big snowball. All right, let's spend 10 seconds on that part of the script. Okay, that's interesting. What's the third one there?
Yeah, the third one, it's also called a trip to Mars, made in 1918. If you're a history buff, that was the last year of World War I.
Yes.
It's a Danish film. And it is written and I believe directed by probably a distant cousin of mine, Ole Olsen.
Ole Olsen, okay.
Yeah,
yep.
Ole Olsen.
Okay.
And it is the first science fiction feature film. A feature film has to be 45, 50 minutes or longer.
Okay.
And this clocked in about an hour or so. And basically, they didn't use the cannon. They didn't use the chemicals, the astronauts. What they did, they used basically, it looked like a gigantic airplane bomber.
Oh, cool.
Modified, all enclosed and all that stuff.
Yes, yes.
So they had to be enclosed because they go in a place where there's no oxygen. So there was probably about 7-8 astronauts that went up.
Okay.
And he had his sights on, forget the moon, man. Hey, we go to Mars. Because back then, I mean, they didn't have really high-powered telescopes. So Mars, it was thought, would have quality of life in it where aliens that live and breathe are living up there. And, they saw the lines on the planet.
Yep.
They said, oh, those are canals.
Yeah, canals.
Those are water.
People thought they were canals, right?
Yeah. So
Hey, Gary, where can we access these films? I'd love to see those.
YouTube.
Really? They're on YouTube?
Yeah, they're accessible on YouTube.
Wow.
And,
is there sound to them?
Check it out.
Not really. No, it's they were played in theaters where they would have a piano or organ, but no, they would just turn it down, play the album to go with it.
Pink Floyd,
Dark Side of the Moon.
Dark Side of the Moon.
There you go. But anyway, they end up coming there, and it's a pretty high production film. They spent a lot of money on it. Denmark again was just bordering Germany. They were not too far away from the West what was going on. So the underlying message of the movie is there were a bunch of beastniks on Mars. And what I loved about it, there was a lot of Vestal virgins.
Yes.
That didn't seem to be the guys,
Right.
the ruling. The elders on Mars actually taught the astronauts the meaning of peace and love.
Wow.
And that they would send one of their favorite chieftain's daughters, like Pocahontas did to go to England.
Go ahead.
Back to Earth to be an example of what humanity could be in the midst of all this war, strife, and fighting.
From Mars. Peaceniks
Maybe
on
that's
Mars.
why we want to go up to Mars, because
I
we
think
want
so.
to learn something new.
Yeah, there's nothing up there, as it turns out, But anyway, I did see a thing the other day where they found an asteroid. Did you see this? An asteroid that is worth $2,000 trillion or something?
Yeah, because of the chemical or the makeup of it.
Right. But wouldn't it, why is it valuable? Is it the gases and
I think it's the metal. The
metal?
Yeah.
Well, let's say it's platinum, just for the hell of it, okay? All right? If you had $2,000 trillion worth of platinum, wouldn't that reduce the price of the price of platinum to
Sure, it wouldn't be as rare.
negative figures? Yeah.
Could, but
It could still be rare if you had it all yourself. You could set the price.
See, already one's thinking of taking over.
Right?
Yes.
And
Raven.
Elon Musk will be there knocking on the
One
door.
of those guys.
All
Raven.
those other guys.
Him and Jeff Bezos, they'll be lining up.
Jeff.
He'll be one of those guys.
They'll be doing some of this together.
What is that? We're a radio show, but okay, as it turns out. All right, well, so those are those three. So you can see those on YouTube. What are the names? What are the titles again there, please, Gary?
Okay, the 1902 movie was A Trip to the Moon. And the other two, 1910, A Trip to Mars. And 1918, A Trip to Mars.
Another trip to Mars. Okay, all right, Brother Danes, cool. So listen, we also had this list of, I don't know why it attracted my attention, but the list of, there's been a lot of science fiction TV shows on TV. There's more than you think, especially, I mean, when you really think about it, sci-fi TV started with Star Trek, right? There was really nothing on that was all space opera. Twilight Zone sometimes, Outer Limits sometimes, but Switch, would you agree that was like the first kind of sci-fi TV show?
Well, there was Lost in Space came out. That was 2 years before it.
Oh, really? Yeah.
But it went to camp. Very silly after the first, certainly after the first season.
Right.
So, and there were other, there were others in the 50s, like was it Tom Corbett, Space Cadet, and Captain Video. But there were a lot
Rogers,
of serial stuff like.
It's just like a network
Flash
TV
Gordon
show.
and Buck Rogers.
Right. Yeah. Well, here's some of them. I was surprised at some of the titles because I don't remember a lot of these. But Steve Carell from The Office. That actor.
Yes, we love him.
Really? Who said that? Raven.
Raven.
You like him?
Come on.
Yeah.
I love him.
Really? Yeah.
Yes.
Why?
He's a cutie pie.
Really, Ella? Do you agree? Steve Carell, guy from The Office.
I think he's funny, but I'm not attracted to him.
Oh, there you go. Okay, well, yin and yang. So look,
I think he's funny, but I'm not attracted to him either.
yeah, he's a local guy. He's down in was he down in Marshfield Club? Does he live down in Marshfield?
Somewhere in the South Shore.
Or Duxbury or something, where all the rich people are. Anyway, he was in a series called Space Force. Okay, Space Force. I didn't know it was. Did you, Raven? Did you see it? Are you aware of this? Wow.
Yeah, I watched. think I don't know how they're doing it. Maybe like 5 episodes as a season.
Okay.
I might not have gotten through the whole season.
Yeah.
It's actually a good show.
Really? He seems like an odd guy to be in a science fiction movie, TV show for some reason.
Yeah, it's kind of a weird show, the way that they lay it out. I don't remember if I actually ever finished it or not, and I don't even know if there's like another season to it, but...
Right. No, it was canceled. It was definitely canceled.
Okay. See, that sucks, but it's kind of like you kind of knew it was going to happen almost.
Yeah.
Just because I feel like there's such a small group of people that enjoy that type of comedy.
Right.
I think it was a good show worth watching. Mr. Raven watched it with me, and he enjoyed it.
Wow, Mr. Raven. Okay.
Mr. Raven.
Everyone can't have good taste like us. So
okay. That's true. That's true.
You and Mr. Raven?
All right, here's another one.
Me and Mr. Raven.
Have you ever seen Space Ghost? Ever seen Space Ghost? Sure. Anyone? Space Ghost is one of the funniest friggin' shows on. It's on
But it used to be a Saturday morning cartoon.
Right. And then they took it.
That's what I remember.
The people, I guess, at the Cartoon Channel or something, they took this really hokey kind of really low-grade Saturday morning cartoon, and they made him into a talk show host. And he interviews pretty big stars, like Willie Nelson was on, and just different people. And when you watch it, you don't understand because he asked questions of the celebrities. Yet I don't understand how they knew. I don't know how they could interact with a cartoon character.
Right.
Okay,
but I remember him sitting behind a desk,
right,
like Johnny Carson.
Like Johnny Carson, he had like an Ed McMahon and everything, and it was just so absurd. It was crazy. It's on like at midnight, when everyone's kind of high or whatever. Funny show, very funny show. You can see you can see those on YouTube too. They're really, really kind of funny. Gary, did you ever watch that?
Yeah, and you know what they did? They had actually a guy behind the desk asking the questions, and then in post-production, where they go in the editing, then that's where they superimpose.
Oh, they put Space Ghost in there? Yeah, it was really clever the way they did it. Really interesting, but just bizarre. Just really...
Gary Owens was in it. He was a narrator in that show.
Yeah, he was in it, that announcer. Yeah.
Gary Owens and Gary Olsen?
Yes.
The guy with the...
Yeah, no relation.
No relation.
Oh, that is
some
kismet energy.
I know.
Okay.
And the director is Joseph Barbera, Huckleberry Hound and those cartoons.
Oh, really? Yeah. Oh, man.
Hanna-Barbera?
Hanna-Barbera.
Like those cartoons?
Huh.
Well...
Yes.
Yep. Joseph Barbera. There was no Hannah involved in this one.
Okay.
His buddy there.
I thought it was a co-produced.
I'll take a...
It doesn't look like it.
I think maybe they joined like later.
You know what? Maybe it is.
Right.
Maybe they are co-produced.
I actually... Now, how about this for a little name dropping? I actually met the guy who invented Tennessee Tuxedo. Remember that Saturday morning show?
Yeah,
sure.
Yeah. His buddy Chumley.
Yeah.
And they go find Mr. Answer Man to find the answers.
And he and his partner also invented Underdog. Okay, Underdog cartoon, right? So
when Sweet Polly's in trouble.
When they had an Underdog movie came out, and for some reason, this guy and we had lunch together. I and Lois, and he told us that the way I hate to say he's passed on at this point, but he was fabulously wealthy. Okay, I mean he was really, really doing well for himself, and this is what his workday was like. One afternoon a month, he would fly his plane to Hartford, Connecticut. Okay, private plane. His partner would fly up from New York City. They'd rent like some kind of a room in a Holiday Inn or whatever, like a conference room, and they'd bang out like 10 scripts, and that would be it. And then see you in a month. Okay. Wow. And
it worked one day a month.
It was just like this, just fell into this thing. He's writing about Underdog and Tennessee Tuxedo, but he's probably making a cool $1 million a year at least in the 60s.
Easily.
Not bad. Yeah, not bad. So,
who was Underdog's arch nemesis? It was Simon Bar Sinister.
Yes, Simon Bar Sinister. I do remember.
Oh, okay. You were paying attention. Okay.
Were they smoking dope during these sessions?
He didn't say that. He was flying his airplane, so he was high no matter what. Now, here's one of my favorite, Doctor Who. Doctor Who to me, man, I've been watching Doctor Who on and off since like the 60s. That's one of the best shows, but it's British, and it's very odd to the American sensibilities. Yeah. They get really into the stories and the characters and stuff, but came up with some really interesting things. I haven't seen the latest ones, but I watched the ones in the repeats from the 60s and the 70s and the 80s. I always enjoyed Doctor Who. Did you, Steve, Switch, are you a Doctor Who fan?
Yeah, off and on. I actually, when I was in Europe in '73, visiting relatives, sponging off relatives, I was watching the third Doctor Who.
Yes.
Was running at the time, and the production and the lighting looked kind of like a soap opera.
Yep,
when
sure.
you were in indoor sets.
Yep.
And when you're outdoors, you could tell the lighting was kind of different.
Yep.
But they were a lot of fun.
Yeah, they're really
I can't remember
good.
the name of the guy that did the third Doctor Who, but he was a bit of an older gentleman, had kind of almost like a gray afro, not quite, but very, very dashing and very energetic. It was a lot of fun.
Sounds like Clubb, except the afro.
That show, it's my wife's favorite sci-fi.
Is it?
She's
Yeah.
been watching that for 20-something years.
Yeah, me
She
too.
can tell you every episode, every star. And it's coming on again. I think they're going to bring a new lead in there now. There's a woman that's been on there for a few years.
Yeah, they change the lead every, he goes through some
like
kind
every
of
5 years or something.
Yeah, they change.
I don't know what the
some
reason is for that, but they always seem to do well.
Yep.
No matter who goes in on that show.
Yeah, really. Yeah.
I
So
always thought they changed it because of contracts. People tried to break their contracts, and then rather than basically suing them into getting them to continue their contract, they decided we'll just get a new person.
that's
And that
probably
was
how
they
it
did
started. But there's been
But sometimes they were just done with
that character.
the part.
Right.
And
Right,
that
yeah.
way, they have an explanation as to why the Time Lord changes.
Right.
And
Yeah.
so forth.
Yeah.
I think it has something to do with his diet, but that's just my
Okay. All right.
He ain't eating Denny's every day.
Oh wow. Well, we'll get to that. Let's see a couple more. Battlestar Galactica. There were two of them.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. The second one was really award-winning. People really loved that show. I didn't really watch it, but the second version of Battlestar Galactica was really highly rated. But it was only on for 4 or 5 years. And we'll end on this one. Who's a fan of Mystery Science Theater?
Yes.
Do you know what that is? Ella, do you know what that is?
I met Joel Hodgson at
Oh,
Monster
okay.
Bash.
Let's explain what it is.
Funny as hell.
This is what it's a great concept. Okay, the concept is this guy's lost in space. He has these two wise guy robots with him. He's drifting in
Crow
space.
and Tom Servo.
And to pass the time, they watch old, mostly science fiction movies, and they comment on them during the movies. And it's hilarious. It's hilarious.
But Mac, it's just like it relates because everybody does this.
Mhm.
Everybody is that little shadow, that silhouette in front of the screen,
Right.
making snide remarks about the movie.
Right.
Exactly.
Right.
Yep.
And the best line I can remember from
bad
it
movies.
is there's a movie called The Giant Mantis, okay, and it's a praying mantis that's giant and it's wrecking cities and everything, and the hero is an Air Force officer and the heroine is a female scientist, and they're out looking for the mantis one night, and it happened to wind up in a lover's lane kind of parking. And she says something, and one of the robots says, I got a mantis in my pantis. That's the kind of humor it's on. Yeah.
I used to watch that when I was 8, and then I rewatched it because they re-released it on Netflix. They did a whole new season and everything.
Oh, really? Yeah.
We were watching the original too.
Yep.
And I'm like, so my parents threw a fit if I tried to watch a Disney movie, but I was allowed to watch this
yes.
Beavis and Butthead, and that was fine.
Oh, I love Beavis and Butthead.
Stay away
so
from those
good.
Disney movies.
Yep.
One of my favorites, if I could, is, I don't know if you
The
recall
teepee
it.
in my bunhole.
Flesh Gordon. Do you remember Flesh Gordon?
No.
Yes.
Come
I
on.
saw it in the theater.
Clubb.
Yeah, that was a big hit. The only one. They were going to have a sequel, but it never made it. But
Okay. Oh, wow.
I don't think it exactly
Do you
did well
think the
in
sequel figured out?
theaters.
What would be more Flesh Gordon?
yeah, there was supposed to be a sequel, but I keep waiting.
Flesh Gordon goes to Japan. All right,
I
listen.
think Disney was going to make the sequel.
No, come on.
Maybe that's why it didn't sell.
Right.
Club had petered out.
Oh, come on. Okay, now. Really. Ella's here.
I'm
Lunch alone.
deceased.
All right, listen, just two more things. We're going to go to a break. Ella, can you please, you're a psychic, can you please give us the vibe of the show already? We're 25 minutes into this.
That's awesome. Everybody's got energy and they're excited and having a great time.
Okay, that's good. So
We're
we're
doing
off,
good.
we're off to a good start, apparently. Okay, so
Feeling good about each other.
Not
I
that-
love it, Ella. Thank you.
not to hash the buzz, but it's time for that part of the show where most people listen to the highest skew, Switchy. The world wants to know, what did you have for breakfast this morning? Now, first, before you say it, you're on a roll with beef steaks and big omelets and Fred Flintstone steaks and stuff for breakfast. So, is it disappointing or another home run?
Is a Fred Flintstone steak like a brontosaurus steak?
Yes.
Okay. I didn't have that, but I will not disappoint from what I had this morning.
Go.
I went to Denny's Diner.
Yes.
And Vanessa waited on me.
Yes.
Vanessa.
Yes, I had black coffee.
Great.
Go ahead.
Tell us about
tall
Vanessa.
orange juice,
Orange juice, good for the health.
white toast,
White toast,
hash browns,
of course.
and a Philly cheesesteak omelet.
Oh, wow.
Minus the mushrooms.
Wow. Holy cow.
Oh, yeah,
That sounds
mushrooms are
good.
gross. Those are
I
like.
had to cut down on some calories like everything else.
Yeah, get rid of the vegetables.
That'll do it. Yes. Wow, a Philly cheesesteak omelet. Oh my
Yeah,
goodness.
and that was I was
Stuffed.
ate late this morning. I was hungry, so that really tasted good.
Okay. All right. Now for the important part, how much was it?
About 16.
$16. And how much did you leave for a tip? Get ready, folks.
$8.
$8.
$8.
There you go.
Why? You left 10 last week.
I'm not made of money, Mac.
Yes, you are.
50%, that's good.
$2.
That's pretty
That's what I
generous,
do.
you know.
Did you buy
There's
some
a place in
Twinkies?
heaven for guys like me that tip 50%.
Okay. All right.
I don't think that's that bad.
No,
Well, maybe
but
not heaven, but maybe I'll get out of purgatory quickly.
there you go.
Yeah.
Didn't the Pope say there's no more purgatory, limbo, or hell? Didn't he say that?
Oh, well,
yeah,
go right
yeah.
to heaven.
Yeah,
Did he? Yeah.
Yeah, you got
It's gone.
A or B.
gone.
There's no middle ground anymore.
Well, then what
There's no
have we
middle
been?
ground. I love how the rules just changed.
Yeah, really. Why have I been being good all these years for nothing?
Yeah.
I want to
Screw
know
it.
why
What about
my
limbo, though?
mother,
Babies go there if they're not baptized and something happens to them, right?
Yeah, I think.
my mother prayed for
Clubb,
my
you're
dad
you're
getting
plugged in
deep,
on that,
JJ.
right?
forever.
Okay, go ahead, Al Renaldo. Go ahead.
My mother prayed for my dad. My
Yes.
dad died when he was 50 years old.
Okay.
So my mother prayed for him every day.
Mm-hmm.
She went to church every day and prayed to get my dad out of purgatory. Now, number one, I don't know what my dad
remember
did
that.
bad enough.
Why did she think he was there?
Well, that's it. I don't know what he did to get him there.
Yes.
And number two, if it didn't exist anyway, why?
What's the point?
Well, I'm hoping those prayers now come
Fall
to me.
to you? Yeah. Trickle down to you?
Now, I was
don't
an
know if
altar
they're
boy.
transferable, Al.
I don't know. But see, I was an altar boy
Yes.
back when I was a kid. I was
Didn't
an
you have to light the
unmolested
candle,
one.
too?
Oh,
Clubb,
hang
you gotta
on.
light
So-
a candle and do the praying.
You
as
don't
well,
know that.
right?
Go ahead.
So I was an unmolested
candle.
altar boy.
Go ahead.
So I figure I served my time.
Yes.
And I should get a one-way ticket. I should be golden. When I go, I should go.
Oh, okay.
You know,
Yeah,
some-
you should have that, and then anything your dad didn't use to redeem
Right.
Yeah,
to go
but
to get into heaven.
I think
There
my
you go.
service as an altar boy should count.
Yes.
You know, because back when I was an altar boy, we had to say the damn mass
Me
in
too.
Latin.
Oh
Me too.
God, my parents made me do that.
Me too.
That,
You know what God's
stuff,
you know
too.
what God's phone number is? Equum Spirit 220.
Oh,
Anyway. Okay, Switchy,
Clubb's
sounds
going
good.
to say something about limbo.
Limbo.
Well, no, I definitely believe in limbo.
Really?
My twin brother died at 4 weeks, and we were always taught that he was in limbo
Right.
my whole life.
Yeah.
Whenever that came up for some reason, oh, he's in limbo. He's
Yeah.
all right.
Yep.
Oh, I still believe.
Well, okay. I hope you're right.
But the thing about limbo is that you can have parishioners, if you will, intercede in your prayers of intercession, or you're praying on behalf of somebody,
Yes.
or if you don't think you had what it takes to do a
Get
prayer of
there.
intercession, you gave somebody else like a prayer note and said, "Can you pray for
Right.
my son?" Or
do you pay
something.
them to do this? Are
course
they
you do.
professional?
It's the Catholic Church. Nothing is free. Anyway.
I have a customer in Byfield that they do that all the time at Adlin Rood
For you?
in Byfield. Yeah,
For you? They're praying
the whole
for you?
organization does that stuff.
Oh, okay.
But they'd pray for me if I asked them to.
Okay. All right. Well, you want to start asking him? How about praying for the
It's right
show?
down the road in Byfield.
Before we go to a break, I'm going to go back to Ella. Ella, are we still enjoying ourselves after all this time?
Oh, yes.
Yeah, well, okay.
Yes.
Good to know.
You know, I wanted to bring up a movie.
Go ahead,
if
please.
that's okay.
Yeah.
Sure.
Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory. At the
Oh.
end of that movie, they shoot out of the chocolate factory in a spaceship, so it's got a little bit of science.
That's true.
Oh,
That is true.
never
That is
saw
That's a
it.
good movie.
Never-
The Gene
never
Wilder
saw it.
one. Oh,
It's the
such a-
50th anniversary.
That was the best.
Yeah, just
Such a good movie.
I
50th
just saw it,
anniversary. Yeah.
So,
That-
They
and
technically do, yeah.
Okay.
and Mac, you had mentioned that Lois Lane loved it, so
Well, she is a big fan of the original Willy Wonka, right? She's
Yeah.
not
the
big
original.
on
Yes,
Yeah.
Not big on the
Johnny
Johnny
Depp's
Depp one.
around. No.
Yeah.
Well, I like the Johnny
Meanwhile-
Depp one too, but it wasn't even close to the.
I like that one like
Original.
as its own movie, not
Yeah.
as like a remake, because it's not.
Yeah,
It's
right.
not a remake.
yeah.
It's a totally different,
Totally different movie.
Weirdo script that goes
Exactly.
with it. Every character is
But the
like
Gene
a
Wilder
weirdo.
one is just so great.
Yeah, iconic movie.
You should look for it. It's in theaters right now for the 50th
is?
anniversary.
Is it really?
50 years
Yeah,
ago.
I saw it in the theater.
Wow.
Okay.
Wow. Okay.
Any
So
theaters
listen.
that are open?
Oh, yes,
Yeah,
okay,
we
of
have
course.
open theaters here in
Everything's
Las
fine.
Vegas.
Why don't we do
That's
this?
true.
Why don't we
Vegas is
take
open for business.
Why don't we take a commercial break now and calm down and regroup? And we'll be right back after this. You're listening to. Thank you, Gary Olsen, for all that information. Good thing you went to film school there, brother.
It was a pleasure.
Okay.
Thank you for having me.
You're going to stick with us, right? Gary?
Are you leaving
Thank
already?
you.
You're not leaving, are you?
Talking to you again.
Okay, here we go. He's not leaving. All right, so listen, why don't we take a commercial break now? We'll be right back after listening. Listen to Mack Maloney's Military Exile Show here on the Distant Thunder Radio Network. Welcome back, everyone, to Mack Maloney's Military Exile Show here on the Distant Thunder Radio Network. Hey, this is Mack Maloney. Wow, what a show we have for you tonight. Let me introduce the remaining gang. Okay, Juan is here. Clubb is here. El Renaldo, UFO Mechanic, is here. Switchblade Steve is here. Ella the Psychic is here. Raven the Good Witch is here. Is that everyone? And our special guest tonight, Paul Dale Roberts, out there. You're out in California, right, PDR?
Yes.
Okay.
Sacramento, California.
Okay, all right. How are you since the last time we talked to you?
I'm doing fine. Yeah.
Okay.
Good.
Now
I just recently retired.
Mm-hmm.
So now I have more time for the paranormal.
Okay.
Excellent.
Oh, excellent.
Nice.
Before we get into that, aren't you married to a model or something? Didn't you tell us that?
Yeah.
But you wouldn't let her on the air with us last time.
Right.
She does. She actually does her own shows, but
Okay.
here's her business card.
Oh my goodness. Okay.
nice.
Looks more
damn.
like Raven.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
I remember Googling her and I was sending out
Gorgeous.
pictures. I said,
All right,
check
watch
this
it,
out.
Watch it. So listen, Paul, you're famous for two things, Paul. Number one,
Besides the supermodel.
you were, besides being married to a supermodel, at one time you worked for were you in the Air Force when you were doing the satellite photos?
No, Army.
And you're in the Army,
Yeah,
okay.
yeah.
And you saw 4 or 5 very interesting photos, but also you were the disco king of Sacramento, right? What year was that? What year was that?
I held the title. I was the 3rd disco king of Sacramento and the 6th disco king of Sacramento, and the last one because disco died.
Okay, all right. Did you kill it or it went quiet?
I think I did.
Okay.
Yeah.
So in one of the ones, didn't you dance disco nonstop for like 8 days or something?
8.5 days. Yeah, I danced 8.5 days. Had the Guinness Book World Records for 1 month because someone beat me.
Wait.
And then,
Wow.
And then I was
Someone
Ripley's
beat your
Believe It or Not.
8.5 day. That blows my mind.
Yeah,
I'm
really.
sorry.
Oh,
Continue.
yeah. With a 5-minute break on every hour.
Right.
Yeah.
But even when you went to the men's room, you had to still be dancing, correct?
Yes. I had witnesses who would actually watch me as I went into the restroom, did what I had to do, but I had to keep my feet moving.
That's unbelievable. Okay, well, good
Probably
for
a
you.
lot of spillage there.
Was it spillage? Is that the word?
Thanks for
A
that.
lot of spillage.
Don't wear suede
Lots of
shoes.
spillage.
Don't wear suede shoes there, brother. So listen, all right, let's go back because you have a fascinating story. So
Unbelievable.
when were you in the Army?
From 73 to 76, from 79 to 86.
Okay, so you went in 2 times, right? So now what put you in the position to see satellite photos? What were you doing for the service?
Oh, okay. Well, I was a 97 Bravo with military intelligence, and that's an intelligence analyst with the Photo Interpretation Center in Korea. And my job was, like, these photographs would come in from of Red China and North Korea, and these images were analyzed by our image interpreters, and they were taken by our satellites, and they were taken by our reconnaissance aircraft.
Okay.
And various photos would come in, and they would, like a little dot would be like a T-72 tank.
Okay, sure.
Well, that's no big deal. But then one day, 6 photographs came in, and they were of different type of UFOs. You had a cigar shape, you had a globe shape, you had a saucer shape, et cetera, et cetera. And on the back of it, which made everything really super interesting, is in the back of it said, intelligent movement. My job was merely to give it a number, and those photos, were part of a bigger picture. Those photos represented a video. Those videos I didn't see. The photos, they went to the DIA, Defense Intelligence Agency, and then went to CIA, and then into a black hole and disappeared.
Right.
And I don't know what happened to those
So what year was
photographs.
this? What year was this?
That was, 79. I went to Fort Huachuca, Arizona for intelligence school. I would say it happened around about 81.
Okay. And were they 5 different shapes or 5 different pictures of the same shape?
There were 6 photographs.
Okay,
It was so you had cigar shape, globe shape. You had something a little like electrical mass.
Okay.
So you had different shapes. Yeah.
And were they taken in orbit or in the atmosphere, or where were they taken?
From what I could see, it looked like they were taken in outer space.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Right.
It wasn't like a daylight blue photo of the sky.
Right.
It wasn't anything
Like they were taken from a satellite or something like that.
Oh yeah, satellite. Yeah.
So, I mean, well, let's talk about the cigar-shaped object for a second. I mean, you hear that? That's actually the most spotted UFO shape. People think it's a flying saucer, but people see cigar-shaped objects a lot and have been for years. So, I mean, was it more than a blur to you? Could you see detail in it?
Not really. The photo, in fact, all the photographs. I mean, it wasn't like an expert photographer was taking pictures of them. They were somewhat blurry or they were somewhat fuzzy, but you can kind of make out what it is. I mean, looking at the photo, it was a cigar shape. And when I'm looking at it, I go, oh, okay, that's cigar shape. But it was kind of hazy. It wasn't, a clear shot. You couldn't see windows on the side or anything like that.
Right.
It just, it was like a blur.
But you had seen so many things, during your career doing this. Obviously, these things look different to you.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
So, we've done a lot of UFO hunts in Mount Shasta, Monterey Bay. My wife, she's actually picked up on where UFOs are and taken some great pictures of UFO activity. So,
So did you have any interest in UFOs before this happened?
Actually, I lived all over California, but when we moved to Monterey, there was a lot of reports of USOs, unidentified submerged objects coming up into the sky and becoming UFOs. So in Monterey, you hear a lot of these stories. That made me really interested in UFOs. And then the book came out, Chariot of the Gods. And when I read that, I was hooked.
Eric von Däniken, right, yeah. Eric von Däniken was really the first guy to publish books about this whole ancient astronaut theory that the Earth was visited many thousands of years ago by people from outer space, and they left some clues around. And he was kind of an interesting guy for a number of reasons, but boy, he made some good points that you would find things around the world. I mean, the pyramids are just the beginning of it. Just different things that, boy, it really looked like there was something other than humans doing these things way back when.
Yeah, and I think we're getting really close to disclosure.
Do you really?
It seems like the government is putting out a little bit of information with the TikTok UFO. Little information here, little information there.
Yep.
And before you know, and then you have all these private organizations trying to get to Mars.
Right.
And these private Elon Musk, I don't think he's going to keep it secret. If he finds something on Mars or on the moon, he's going to say, hey, this is what we found. There was a past civilization here. Boom. And that disclosure, the government realizes disclosure is coming soon. And it may not just be from the government, but from a private organization.
It'll probably come from a private organization before the government. But let me ask you this. Now,
I think the private organization will get paid by the government to keep quiet about it.
How are you going to pay a guy who's worth $140 billion? I mean, these guys have hundreds of billions of dollars.
The government has ways to make you shut up.
So let me ask you this, though. I mean, along those same lines, all right? Now, you said, and we hear this a lot, that disclosure is coming, yet the government is kind of leaking out baby steps, leaking out little bits of information here and there. Now, I didn't believe that until the past year, past 2 years with the Tic Tac videos and so on, and this report that happened on June 25th, which was all of 9 pages, and I think at least 2.5 of them were an index, and they really didn't say anything, but they said something, and that's a big step as far as the U.S. military is concerned, to come out and say, we don't know what these things are. That's what people have been waiting for years to hear them say. Do we know what they are? No, we don't know what they are. And they actually admitted that. The other strange thing, too, is, and I was going to get into this in Coast to Coast, but they never asked me the question, was what was also surprising about the report, and I want to know if you feel the same way, was for the first time ever, they brought up air safety. You know, we don't want these things flying around and hitting airliners, hitting our military planes, civilian planes, or whatever. But, and I mean, that sounds good, and it probably filled up a page and a half of this report. But have you ever heard of a UFO hitting an airplane? I haven't. Have you ever heard of any kind of a mid-air collision with a UFO? I haven't. So it's
I heard a lot of close encounters.
Right.
But an actual collision, no. But you have, like in Kentucky, that one Air Force pilot
Mantell, yeah,
kept on going into a higher altitude to try to see what this UFO was.
Right.
Yeah, exactly,
Right.
and then crashed.
He crashed, but that could have been that he went too high. He went beyond the altitude permitted for. He was flying a P-51 Mustang called F-51s by that time. But I've never heard of, as we say, any kind of collisions between UFOs and airplanes. So I thought it was interesting that they'd come out with this air safety concern, this air safety.
I don't know why they'd say that. I mean, those craft, if they've got to be so sophisticated technology-wise that, I'm sure there's no way their sensors or whatever would allow them to crash into, another object. And I mean, if they're that, which they should be, that technology advanced,
There was a UFO, though, that crashed into a police vehicle. And left a lot of damage.
Really? Yes.
Yeah, but they're not in the sky. You know how
No.
you got to think they got all kinds of sensors and everything that allow them to avoid any kind of mid-air contact. I mean, that's why I think we've never.
But you know what? We're on that subject, though, and I'll throw this to Paul. We've talked about this before. We think of these objects as being very, very high on the technology scale. Let's face it. Okay, they can do things that we can only imagine. They do not fly in a way that we know is aerodynamically possible, especially the Tic Tac videos. They got something else, really going on there. But here's the question. Why do UFOs have lights then? Well, pregnant pause.
Beats the heck out of me.
I mean, think about it.
Yeah,
why
do
they have toilets?
Oh, come on. All right.
You can go with the theory where aliens have been living among us like for centuries at this point. And maybe, it's just
habit.
They know that we're too simple to figure that out. So they have the lights on to signal those other their kind that are around that, something's going down. We gotta call to arms,
But it's always this thing about UFOs. It's this belief that UFOs want to hide from us, that they're secret or whatever. But when you really think about it, they're not. Like the Hudson Valley sightings from, many years ago, where thousands of people saw these huge UFOs going down the Hudson River. They're almost on a schedule. They want, I think, whoever they are, they want us to see them. They want us to be aware of their presence, because if not, and if they're so technological advanced, they certainly wouldn't have lights on. But people see them all the time.
And there's a lot of things going on, Mac. I mean, look at with missing 411. Yeah. All these different people are vanishing. And if they do find them, it's weird. I mean, they're found miles away from where they vanished from, and the terrain is just so incredibly crazy that you couldn't walk it. They don't have no shoes on. Somehow their shoes disappeared, but yet their feet are intact. There's a lot of things going on. And recently there was a report where it came out of Mount Shasta. Mount Shasta has been known to have Lemurians living in the caverns of Mount Shasta. And there was this a situation over Mount Shasta where this little boy was taken away, and the little boy describes that it was his grandmother that took him away. But as he was talking, this wasn't his grandmother. It was something that actually morphed to look like his grandmother, took him away, did some medical experiments on them. He was able to describe that and then returned them back on the trail. There's just
oh no.
Yeah, there's crazy stuff. Yeah,
it's really and the people that come back now sometimes people end up dead, and they even find them in areas that they've been searching over and over again. He's got certain criteria, certain things that happen, certain patterns that follow. But there are times when people come back from whatever they've experienced, and it's like they're befuddled. They can't really explain what happened to them. So he's done amazing work, and there's thousands of cases that are truly bizarre. They're not something where somebody's trying to just disappear out of society or whatever, or somebody's been murdered. These are he has focused in on stuff that just has no rational
people vanish. Yeah, they vanish.
Yeah,
It's weird.
I mean, it's like literally like they vanished in their tracks.
There's a new show on TV. I saw a commercial. I don't know if it's on Prime or one of them, but it's about people like that coming back after like 3 years.
I know what you're talking about. Yeah, I can't think of the name of it.
No, it's brand new. I wanted to see what it was like, but it's this thing where all of a sudden they appear. I think the plane comes in.
It's a plane.
400 or something, the 400 or something?
Yeah, I don't remember the name, but I just caught the end
Google
of
machine.
something on it. But it looks interesting. But it's down in that area of, where they've been and what happened to them, and they're treated like outcasts according to the way that promo goes. But be interesting.
So, Paul, listen. So, go ahead, please.
Oh, go ahead. Oh, well, I'm just saying, just a lot of people are disappearing from national parks.
Right, yeah.
And it seems like the government they don't even pay attention to it. They don't keep proper records for us to do an investigation and find out where these people are going. So,
and when David Paulides is trying to get through freedom of information on this, he's run into a dead end in so many instances.
Wow. That's a very strange. That whole 411 thing is very, very strange. What the heck is going on there? But Paul, let me just
tell you, Paul. When I read his books, I've got all of them. I will go. We have the joke about the what I've had for breakfast. A lot of times I will take his book and I'll be reading it in the daytime, enjoying my breakfast, surrounded by people, and in the daylight. So these things are really seriously so creepy and sometimes so tragic that it's almost like you have to be surrounded by some kind of security to hope that you're not going to be the next one.
Good thing Clubb is here.
Yeah.
And Paul, have you ever gone anywhere like out in the just traveling around or gone out in the woods or whatever, and you've got this David Paulides' research in the back of your mind?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And not only that, I have the paranormal hotline. So people call my cell phone, and this one person said that he did some hiking at Yosemite National Park. And he got to the one point of the trail, and he said that the atmosphere just kind of changed. And like the sky from blue, it kind of looked reddish. And then he got to a certain point, and he said that the air felt like liquid. And he backed off. And then everything turned back to normal again. But he felt like if he continued, he was going to go into like another world or another dimension or something like that. And I was listening to this guy on the phone, and I'm going, wow, that is just so weird. And then if you look it up, there's a lot of different people that disappear from Yosemite National Park.
Yes.
Oh,
it's one of the hot spots.
Oh, no.
Wow. It is really strange. When you read some of those stories, it's like there's no explanation for a lot of them. There's a few in there where someone has just like literally gone around the bend. I mean, their friend is walking behind them or jogging behind them, and all of a sudden they're just gone, and it's weird that it's happening in, on federal land or in, national parks or whatever.
And like Paul was saying, sometimes it's young children who disappear. Sometimes they find them alive 15 miles away over mountain ranges in the amount of time that there's just no way they could have traversed that. They couldn't have gone across that terrain anyway, being 3 or 4 years old.
Yeah.
And but Paul, the ones that really haunt me are the ones where they come back, adults sometimes, and they're just very vague on what happened to them. That somebody was chasing them or whatever, or they just their memories just don't come together.
Right.
And that really creeps me out.
Right. Yeah.
It's super creepy. And that Clubb, the name of that show is Manifest.
Manifest. Oh, good.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah, I got to
keep
check it out.
seeing it, and I need to watch it. Oh God, it looks so creepy.
I got to ask Ella something.
We're watching it, but there's some. It's kind of lamely done, but it still
don't
grabs
tell me
you.
that.
The reviews are in.
I'm sorry.
Ella, I want to.
It's a good watch.
It doesn't have that Downton Abbey feel to it.
No, it's.
Oh, here we go.
Thank God.
You can tell it's made for commercial television. That's what I think makes it the way it is. But it's still enjoyable. You're captivated by it.
Listen,
there's a
I'm
cliffhanger
trash,
after every episode.
I only watch made-for-TV, shows and movies. That's all that I do.
I don't want to get into that deep stuff. Hey, Ella, let me ask you a question. Now, you live out in Vegas. You live near Nellis Air Force Base, which is this huge Air Force base out there. And also, you're about 70 miles from Area 51. A lot of strange stuff is flying around out there. I mean, do you see stuff there that you look in the sky and go, wow, what is that?
Every once in a while, yeah. And not too long ago, I saw landing at Nellis Air Force Base, a plane, I think I mentioned it to you before, that was hovering. And it was like hovering above the runway.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't even hardly moving at all. And that really was bizarre.
Well, that's where they test a lot of stuff out there. The Nevada Weapons Testing Range is where all these places. Area 51 is out there, but if you had talked to Coco and other people I've talked to, I mean, they don't call it Area 52, but there are a number of secret bases out there that we've never heard of.
Yeah.
We hear Area 51 all the time.
And I've seen the jets flying around a lot too.
Mm-hmm.
So
they do a lot of training out there at Nellis Air Force Base. It's so strange that Nellis Air Force Base and I actually did a tour of it once. My brother was stationed there. It's so big and so complex. It's unbelievable. And it's just kind of like the threshold of this place called the Nevada Weapons Testing Range, where Area 51 is. Another place called Tonopah, Nevada, is up near Reno. And there's at least 3 or 4 different places out there that are very, very secret. And I heard lately that Area 51 now, it was always kind of very hard to get near it anyway, but there was a mountain or something that you could go up on the top of the mountain. You could see it way off in the distance. Yeah. Well, the Air Force bought the mountain, so now people can't do that. And I mean, we know that they test secret weapons out there, and secret aircraft. But what else they're doing? They got a perfect place to do it because you cannot see in there, from the ground level. So
when we went to Area 51, we were able to camp out in the parking lot of the Alien. So that was really nice.
The little really Alien.
Nice, allowed us to camp out there. And then they took us on a little private tour of a village. It was an abandoned village near Area 51. They didn't have any explanation why it was abandoned, but they said that many of the houses were haunted. So we actually did a ghostly investigation while we were out there.
Oh, man, that's cool.
Can I say that Paul and I both contributed to one of Timothy Green Beckley's books with many other authors. You look at the image back there, Paul Dale Roberts and Steve Ward. Weird Winged Wonders. My chapter was on the Mothman. Paul, did you write something on, was it Bat Squatch or was it?
Yeah, I think it was Bat Squatch. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
What is that?
Image.
What's Bat?
Oh, go ahead, Paul. I'm so sorry.
No, it's so sad because Timothy Beckley he passed away.
Right, yes. Yeah. He's a good guy.
We're great old timers. I mean, he goes way back. He's just one like Gray Barker and some of the other ones. And he actually, when you look at his publications, it's hard to tell where Gray Barker left off and Beckley started. Mm-hmm. It's kind of like almost seamless the way the publishing went.
I was on their show once, Tim Beckley and Tim Schwartz at a show. And
me too.
Yeah. Wow. 2 hours.
What a lot of fun.
Me too. I was on there too.
Yeah.
Exploring the Bizarre. Remember the opening with the thunderclap?
Yeah.
Trying to take back the night.
They had a lot of production values, a lot of recorded stuff. It was really pretty funny, those 2 guys. It's too bad he passed away. So, Paul, let me just get back to your story real quick. So, when you saw these photos, I mean, what did the officers say to you? Did they just say, just do your job? Did they comment on them or anything like that? Or did you comment to them on them?
Yeah. Anything that you might ask, you have to have a need to know, and they'll just shake their head and say, Roberts, get out of here.
Yeah.
Don't ask any questions. Just do your job. Blah blah blah. And I had a simple job. Just gave it a number, and then I passed it on to the DIA.
Right. Wow. And you had a security clearance, obviously.
If I could go back in time, though, I would love to have made copies of those photographs.
Oh,
then I would have been. I would have been in trouble, and I would have been in stockade. But
Wow. So what do you
would
think?
you have been in trouble, or would it have been like blackmail?
He'd be in trouble.
You got to think of these.
You just
things.
disappear someday.
Yeah.
Exactly. You're
I think
just
I'll go
too
camping
funny.
in
You have their
Yosemite.
records.
They'd be gone and never heard from again.
So, Paul, what do you think they were? I mean, you saw these pictures. I mean, you must have thought about it all these years. What do you think they were?
Well, what I know is that after Blue Book closed down, when they closed shop on Blue Book,
67.
they were still investigating UFOs.
Yes, right.
And we're talking about 1981. They're investigating UFOs. And then another photograph came in, and again, somewhat blurry, but on the back of the photo, it said possible POW Vietnam, 1981.
Yes.
So that means in 1981, and then later on, there was a newspaper article where it said that Special Forces, the Green Beret, were saying that POWs were in Vietnam.
Right.
Later on, after the war ended, it was still going on. With
See,
POWs.
when they did that peace treaty, so-called peace treaty, Kissinger and Nixon, one of the things that they gave up in the negotiating table was they got the return of the pilots and so on. The people who were being kept in the Hanoi, Hilton, and those places. Mostly shot down pilots, but there were a lot of our soldiers, ground troops, who were also prisoners of the Viet Cong or the North Vietnamese, and they made no arrangements for them, and so. They are the MIAs, and what happened to those guys, who knows, But I'm not surprised to hear that, someone saw POWs in Vietnam at 1981. They kind of left those guys behind, and that was really pretty bad. So anyway, Paul, what are you doing these days? You're writing and so on.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I'm still writing. I'm doing paranormal investigation. In fact, this weekend, Friday, we're blessing a home. So this Friday we're doing that, and then next Saturday we're traveling down to Tracy. This lady, she feels like she has a negative entity in her home. Plus, she feels like her home was cursed by another family. So so we're gonna bless that home and investigate, find out if there's anything there. So, but yeah, I've been very busy. We're talking about. Missing 411. Not only is it kind of scary about the national parks and possible UFO abductions, but also too the woods are just plain scary. And as a paranormal investigator, I've done everything from investigating the Ketty murders. I don't know if you ever heard them, but you can Google it.
The Ketty cabin?
Cabin 28, where 4 family members were killed by unknown people, and one of their friends was killed. Yeah.
Is it? That's still unsolved. To this day, right?
Yeah, unsolved.
Yeah.
Unsolved. Yeah. And they don't know. And then we investigated Charles Nick and Leonard Lake. Those were the serial killers who had a cabin in the woods. Okay. And these women would just disappear. And they had, when the police raided the place, they had like 300 videotapes of these women being tortured and killed, and they just vanished. So not only do you have the frightening aspect of UFOs abducting people vanishing and stuff like that, but you got those crazy serial killers.
Yes.
Yosemite National Park, you had Carrie Stainer. So
who was that?
No, it's crazy.
Who was that?
I mean,
I try to stay out of the woods.
Yeah. Who was Carrie Stainer?
Oh, he was the guy who killed this woman who worked at Yosemite National Park, and he cut off her head and put it on a shelf. It's crazy.
Wow.
And they caught him he was at some nudist camp. They identified him. The FBI came and they arrested him.
Wow. Oh my cow.
Yeah.
Okay.
During our investigations right here in Sacramento, in Citrus Heights, my wife and we investigated the Golden State Killer's home. Joseph D'Angelo.
God, are you serious?
Yeah, well, kind of like on the outside of it. Yeah. I mean, we didn't get no evidence or anything like that, but it was just kind of interesting because to be
that close to this absolute sociopath.
Exactly.
When did that incident happen?
Oh the Golden State Killer, he was the East Area rapist. He was the Visalia ransacker.
70s to like the late 80s, I think.
Yeah, all the way from the 70s up to, I don't know, probably early 2000s. Yeah.
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 And they caught him through genealogy.
Yeah, yeah.
There's a really good book on
so
it.
they
I'll
caught
email
the
you
guy.
the details.
Is he still
Yeah, he was the
incarcerated or is he dead?
Yeah, he murdered people in Los Angeles. He was the original Night Stalker, and he was burglarizing homes in Visalia and became the Visalia ransacker. Then he was raping women in Sacramento. He was the East Area rapist. Then he started killing and became the Golden State Killer.
Yep.
So
And it
did he
was all
plead
one
insanity
guy.
or not?
He's still ongoing. He hasn't. They haven't tried him yet. He's
it's
waiting.
like-
He's waiting in prison.
He's like, I'm old. Oh, have pity
Oh,
on
yeah,
me.
yeah.
I need a walker. And it's like,
Wow, really?
no, you can rot. You're gross.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's the worst. There's a
He's
really
the
good
worst,
book,
yeah.
and I'll send you a text about it. I
right.
have the book. I'll send you a picture. It's a really good book.
So
it's
this is a
called,
recent dude, right? Is he in a psych ward or something, waiting for?
He's in jail, as far as I
in
know.
jail?
Yeah, he's in prison waiting for trial.
Yep.
Yeah.
And he was just caught in like 2017 from like,
Yeah,
I mean, this
yeah.
happened in the 70s. Yeah.
Right. Wow, that's a long time to be waiting
He's
for a trial.
disgusting. Yeah, he's gross.
He's
Wow.
horrible.
Well, listen,
He must be in solitary confinement. I would think that somebody would have gotten to him by now.
Right.
I don't know. I hope he gets beat every single day. He's the worst.
Oh yeah, it says all the publicity. He is in solitary.
Yeah.
He deserves it.
Hey, listen, why don't we take a quick break now, okay? And we'll be right back. You're listening to Mack Maloney's Military Exile Show here on the Distant Thunder Radio Network. We'll be right back after this. So here on the Distant Thunder Radio Network, this is Mack Maloney. Wow, what a show we have going on tonight. Let me very quickly introduce everyone who's here. JJ is here. Switchblade Steve is here. Clubb, security chief is here. Renaldo, UFO mechanic, is here. Okay. Let's see. And Paul Dale Roberts is here, our guest. And now the two beauties among the beast. Ella the Psychic from Las Vegas, our favorite redhead west of the Mississippi. And also Raven, our favorite good witch up there in New York. So the whole gang is here. Off here, we were just talking about the Skinwalker Ranch. I'm not a big believer, but convince me. So tell us, Ella, about your experience with Skinwalker Ranch.
Well, I've just been doing some research about it, and it sounds pretty authentic from what I've heard.
Ella, have you read the
a real
Hunt
dog?
for the Skinwalker by George Knapp and
Yes.
yes, Colin
Yes,
Gallagher?
I've read that.
That's the definitive book right there. That's
Okay.
when Bigelow set up the NIDS team, the National Institute for Discovery Science. They had
Right.
scientists there for several years, and they documented a couple hundred different paranormal events. The problem was they did not repeat themselves. They were trying to use the scientific method, but they weren't able to do it. But they had, as you know, if you read that book, they've had all kinds of bizarre
Like things like what?
happen there.
Give us some
Right.
examples. Give us some examples, Switchy.
Can I give you an example?
Yes,
Yes, go ahead.
Ella, yes.
Two researchers were on a ravine, and
Yes.
a little light came into view, and one of the researchers got out their night vision goggles, and what he could see was a portal, and it was getting bigger and bigger. And this is the scariest part of the book for me,
Okay.
because there was a creature and it started coming out of the tunnel, and some went somewhere on the ranch, but they never found it. But that was like the creepiest part for me of the whole story.
But
Do you remember that, Steve?
It crawled out. It was one of them had night vision goggles, and when you
Yes.
looked at the light without the goggles, it just looked like a dim orb or something like that.
Yep.
But then
Right.
when you looked at the goggles, it actually looked like a tunnel, and this thing was using its elbows to climb out. And this
Right,
guy
that's right.
swears that when it came out, it was kind of massive like a Bigfoot, but it was hairless. And he said it had no face. And this thing
Right,
walks
that's right.
off into the night. Oh, it makes me think of the seed pods and Invasion of the Body Snatchers
yeah.
Oh,
before
right.
it actually formed.
Creepy movie.
But there's the remember the cameras on the different poles? They had
Oh, yes.
cameras constantly monitoring everything. Then all of a sudden they notice at one time that the lights are out on the cameras, and they find
Right.
out that 3 of them, and the wires were ripped out and stopped working. And the other was one camera that was on that was kind of in the area that could see them, but it couldn't see anything. But all it saw was the lights go out simultaneously on the other cameras.
Mhm.
And then you have the strange orb phenomenon. They would see a large, Sherman, when he would, before he got the NIDS team there, it'd be winter, and he'd see these kind of orangish things in the sky, and they look kind of like towers in the sky, but you can only see them at certain angles. And then one time he's looking at this thing, and it looked like kind of a hole in it. It almost looked like there was a blue sky behind it or through it. And then all of a sudden he sees one of these giant black triangles just shoot through it. And it just remember the animal mutilation. The cattle, during the daytime, they're there. The Shermans are there. This one cow has given birth to a calf, and they're just over a rise, maybe 100 yards away, and their dog alerts, takes off, runs, and never comes back. They go over there and they see that the mother is disturbed. They can tell she's agitated, but the calf has been mutilated with the rib cages, which just kind of been completely ripped open. And the animals, the dogs are alerting. And the next day, this is wintertime, they're there, Kelleher's there, and some other people, and Sherman.
Who?
Right. They're driving around, and remember, they see those eyes in the tree. There's something up in the tree. And there's also something, they found one of the cattle that was separated from the others. And it was ice, and they were having all kinds of cattle either disappear, like their footprints would lead up to a certain point, and then they're gone. And then they would have others that would be mutilated. But this particular night, there was something up in the tree, some kind of they didn't even know what it was. And there was something like maybe one of those giant wolves or whatever they were seeing below the tree. And they could see the eyes. Sherman shot it twice. He's sure he hit it. He's a crack shot.
The bulletproof dire wolf.
Yes,
yeah, that was in the very beginning. Yes.
Yeah, bulletproof dire wolf.
But this one, the same thing. What you didn't know what it was. But it left one footprint, kind of like a claw print in the snow, and nothing else.
Okay.
And this other creature, whatever it was, didn't leave anything behind.
Let me ask you this. Let me interrupt you for a second. Paul, you said you invested in the Skinwalker Ranch. Did you say that off the air?
Oh, yes. We actually investigated the valley where Skinwalker Ranch is. I brought 2 investigators. We did our driveway over there to Skinwalker Ranch, the area, and we interviewed some people about Skinwalker Ranch. And one of the stories that we got was that the original owners saw an RV going up the trail, and the RV took to the sky and became a UFO.
Wow.
That was one of the stories that we heard. Okay. Another story we heard is about the portal opening up in the sky and a Bigfoot type creature coming out of the portal. And one of the scientists that was residing at Skinwalker Ranch observed that. Wow. And then, of course, you got the story of the bulletproof dire wolf. And the Gormans, I believe it was the original owners.
But Paul, they changed the name to Gorman. They were Shermans. In the book, originally they tried to keep it secret, but it didn't keep.
Okay, yeah, and they described what they saw as a dire wolf. So something coming back from time, appearing in present time as a dire wolf and going back to wherever it came from.
Wow!
But when we did our investigation there, it was storming. I mean, the rain was just pouring down heavy. So we're setting up our little campsite, the tents and everything. I fell in the mud. 2 of my investigators, they fell in the mud. We heard a screeching noise, and I had the recorder on, but all you can hear is the pounding of the rain. And then there was just one other thing that we saw, and it blew me away. And I could say it's a natural phenomenon. We saw ball lightning. It was the first time I ever saw ball lightning. It was an actual electrical ball coming out of the sky, and when it hit the ground, it exploded.
Wow.
So we did see that. And then we were supposed to stay there in that valley for about a whole week, because not only Skinwalker Ranch is that has paranormal phenomenon, but the whole valley does.
Yeah.
So the next day, one of the investigators had pneumonia, and we had to head back. So we only got to stay there one night.
Hey, listen, talk about heading back. Hey, JJ has to go. He's going on a secret mission. Let's clap him off, please.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
JJ.
Great show tonight.
We'll see you next
I hate to leave
week.
early, but it's fantastic.
Okay.
You'll be missed.
Paul, thank you very
missed.
much.
Yeah.
Thank you.
All right.
All right.
See you later.
I got to bail, and
We'll talk
good
to you
luck with the
soon.
rest of the show. Can't wait to hear it.
Okay. See you.
Send you a text for that book.
Bye-bye,
Have a good night,
JJ.
JJ.
Thanks, Raven.
See you later.
All right.
Paul, that story about what Sherman thought was an RV. He was mad because he thought people were trespassing on his property, and so he's with, I think, his nephew, and they're following this, and they're thinking, we got this SOB. He can't get over the fence line. Then all of a sudden, the light moves over the fence line slowly and then moves away.
Okay. And listen, in the few minutes we have left, and can I be the guy at the party? Now listen. Okay, I've heard a lot about the Skinwalker Ranch. I've heard about all the crazy stuff that goes on there. Okay. And the people who are involved in it, have connections to the government and so on and so forth. Okay. Why then is there no, and I hate to be this guy, but why then is there no really clear, definitive video of this stuff happening there? So much stuff happens, it seems like you would have caught something on camera.
They do have videos of faint, blotchy.
But why are they
lights.
faint and blotchy?
What's that?
Why are they faint and blotchy? Why don't they have that place just wired like
that's
crazy?
The nature of paranormal phenomena. And the other thing is that Bigelow has kept the stuff quiet. I was when Bigelow was a thought was a private
who is he?
Got into this. I thought Robert Bigelow, who originally bought the ranch from the Shermans.
Yep.
I thought, yes, we're going to have disclosure on this thing. The government isn't going to shut it up. Bigelow has not revealed.
Why?
This new guy that's doing the TV show seems to be more forthcoming. Don't you think, though, Paul?
Oh yeah, sure. And also too, they have video footage of UFOs that appeared. Yes, they appeared over Skinwalker Ranch, and they've been showing that on the History Channel.
The cow died. It collapsed, and then they saw that strange object above it. So, but the thing is, Paul, if you isolate certain aspects of this, you could say it's ET, it's interdimensional. But when you look at the whole spectrum, I mean, they hear these disembodied voices. They experience poltergeist phenomena where mundane objects are displaced in the house. And remember, he lost his post hole digger. He turns around; it's not behind him anymore. He finds it 2 weeks later up in a tree, like something like the Trickster or something like that. I mean,
right.
And you're right. It's not just that ranch; it's this whole area.
But can I just once again? Let me just. It's Ella.
We're talking about.
And to be honest with you, I couldn't find the ranch. So we said, okay, this is it. We're done. I didn't want to drive anymore in the storm. I said, we're setting up camp here. And so that's what we did.
Let me just be the devil's advocate in the few minutes we have left. So you have this place. It's been around for a long time. A lot of strange things are said to happen there, and everything from, portals to UFOs and so on. If this was all true, and I'm a skeptic on some things, why wouldn't they have like the best scientists, the best video cameras, the best detection things, the best night vision?
They did.
And wire it.
Oh, they do. They do now.
Well, then why don't they release this?
And they probably did with Bigelow.
But why don't they release it? Why doesn't he release it? Why is he being so closed-lipped about stuff like this?
I think Bigelow was actually working with the government.
Yeah, I think you're right.
Yeah.
And a lot of people say that his organization, and I forget what it stood for, but they say that his organization actually originated as the OSIR, Office of Scientific Investigation and Research.
Okay.
So with Chris Shakon, he was the original leader of OSIR, and they said that Bigelow was working with the OSIR. I don't know.
Okay, so like I say, we hear all these things, but it would seem like if there's so much stuff happening there, and if he was connected to the government would then, be like Area 51. They'd buy it all. No one could get near it. If something was really happening there. And the fact that this guy doesn't release any of this information, what's his point?
You've got to read the book by Knapp and Kelleher.
Yeah, but my cousin. But what's the reason for him not? What's his reason for not, putting out the information? I mean, we can say he's connected with the government. We can say all of us are connected to the government. I don't know. I see it as a way of selling books and so on and so forth. But
But Bigelow wouldn't have created. Bigelow's a billionaire. He's going to sell some little handy book that isn't going to make that much money. It isn't. There's no reason for it.
Go ahead, Ella.
And what about Stardust Ranch too?
Yes. Yeah. Where's that located, Ella? Do you remember? Is it Arizona?
I think so. I can't remember.
And there's another one in Colorado that Timothy Good talks about, an alien contact, but very similar, disembodied voices, strange lights, and then the Bradshaw Ranch. which was confiscated by the government near
Which one?
Sedona, the Bradshaw Ranch.
Oh, the Bradshaw.
Tom Dongo and Linda Bradshaw wrote a book called Merging Dimensions, and that was bought up by the government.
Okay.
And it's very similar. Bigfoot reports, strange lights, and et cetera.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
So let me once again. I'm going to be the guy at the party. So why doesn't some really scientific, organization go in and just, do a scientific study of this place and figure out what's going on? I mean, if all
They're doing it now. They're doing it now with Secrets of Skinwalker Ranch on the History Channel. They have scientists and everything else over there, and they're doing a complete investigation, and everything's open to the public.
Wow. Well, I don't know.
Yeah.
I got to be
One
convincing
other
us.
quick thing, Paul. Remember the episode where they had the Jewish rabbi come in, the guy that's seen on the.
Oh yes.
And he did the ritual, and it seems that ritual and intention triggers the phenomena somehow. Remember the story?
It riled it up.
Yes, remember the story in the book where this is before the ranch became not well known, but it was in the papers a little bit. That guy came to the Sherman, his father and son, and said he wanted to meditate on the ranch. And then this thing showed up, kind of the predator effect. We talk about that kind of connects to missing 411 too, where people see this kind of shimmer in the woods, And
Exactly.
but it was this guy was meditating. He's putting this intention out. The rabbi did this ritual, and even we've talked before about this crazy exorcism attempt of the Loch Ness monster and the weird sort of psychic backlash that happened afterwards. So it's really phenomenal.
We took a left turn there somewhere.
I did, yeah. I did see the other day. I saw some kind of news thing that said that the sightings of the Loch Ness monster have shot through the roof in the past 3 or 4 months. Have you read that?
Oh yeah. I saw that too.
I was checking.
Oh, go ahead.
Go ahead. No, go ahead, Raven.
It's got to be because of Outlander, because that focuses heavily on Scotland and
Oh, okay. Yeah.
But I was Jim Mars, the guy, the conspiracy guy.
Yeah.
He wrote a book called Sci-Spies, where he gets into a lot of the remote viewing stuff. Well, you remember how we had Bill Ray on, and how they would have these every once in a while. I mean, they're looking for commies, right, and bad guys. But every once in a while, they throw in a red herring or whatever you want to call it, straw man, like a UFO target or whatever. Well, one of their targets, their blind targets, was the Loch Ness monster. And they were kind of getting something like a plesiosaur. It was solid. It was leaving a wake. But when they tried to find out its origin or where it came from, it would disappear.
Wow. Well, conveniently. But listen, let me just tell you this absolutely true story. I was writing a book back in probably the early 90s. And it had to do just tangentially, if I can use that word, with Loch Ness and so on and so forth. And an idea came to me. And this was the idea. It said, how smart dolphins are, right? And there are freshwater dolphins. Get a couple of dolphins, put cameras on them, put them in the lake, and they're going to go find something strange for you. Now, as it turns out, a guy from the University of New Hampshire had already done it, unbeknownst to me, okay? Great minds think alike, right? Oh. And they didn't find anything. There was nothing there, So... like I say, I'm a skeptic in a lot of this stuff. I mean, obviously, people are seeing something just like people see UFOs, people see ghosts and everything. But a lot of this stuff just kind of disappears conveniently, when it's time to, put the pedal to the metal.
That's the nature of the beast. I mean, it's that trickster element.
Right?
Remember we talked about the Nessie type sightings in other lakes where credible people see them. They even come ashore sometime, and there's report after report, and it turns out the lake is the size of a football field and only 20 feet deep. So how the hell is it we're seeing a creature like Nessie? How could it survive a colony of them in a lake that small, yet people see them over and over again?
Well, that does go back to this is really all over the map, but it goes back to the ghost rockets of 1946, where hundreds of people saw these rockets going over Sweden. They looked just like cruise missiles from the future or something. And a lot of people saw them, actually crash or go into lakes, and they would go into they would send divers down, and there'd be nothing there, So, who knows? It's really kind of nutty.
I think it's like a space-time disruption happening at in Scotland, where the Loch Ness monster is able to go from its reality into our reality. I think is an interdimensional creature, just like I think Bigfoot is also interdimensional. That's why we can't find any scat, we can't find any hair from Bigfoot, because it goes from our dimension to its dimension and back.
Well, it's going to be something really kind of nutty like that. Hey, listen, let's go around the horn. Hey, Paul, thanks for joining us tonight. We really appreciate it. Now, we're a radio show, but we can see you on TV. Can you give us some disco moves real quick, or?
No.
Why?
We'll just imagine them.
Yeah,
we'll do that.
That is Paranormal.
Hey, also too, you guys were mentioning George Knapp. I really like George Knapp. When I did my investigation in Area 51, he tweeted out that HPI was headed for Area 51. So he kept in touch with us and to see what we can find. Which we didn't really find much, but it was kind of cool.
Really. So, Paul, what are you doing lately? Where can people find you and so on?
Okay. Well, if people need an investigation or some type of cleansing, they can call me at 916-203-7503.
Okay.
I'll say it one more time, 916-203-7503. And my website is, I have to always look at www.cryptic.916.com, or just Google my name, Paul Dale Roberts.
Yes, right.
And you'll find it somehow.
Okay, thank you. So, is there any disco in your future, or have you given it up? You've given up the crown?
Totally given it up.
Okay.
The disco totally died. And
rumor is it's coming back.
It's coming back.
Everything comes back.
What if it comes
I'm not going back with it.
You sure?
I got all my
here
outfits.
for
I'm
it.
keeping them.
Never say never.
You and me, Clubb, we'll go discoing.
Oh, I'd love
bet.
to.
But it was so funny because I saw disco and I looked up disco on the Wikipedia, and then if you scroll down and look for dancing, you see that they mentioned my record on there.
Yes,
which was kind of cool. I made disco history,
Wow.
So Donna Summer and Paul Dale Roberts, I guess.
Is that how you got your model wife? Was your model wife attracted to you because you danced disco for 8 days? Did it have anything?
No, absolutely not.
Okay, well, she has good taste then. That's good. Hey, listen, Paul, thanks for joining us. It's always a pleasure. We'll talk to you real soon, okay? Let's clap them off, please.
Thank you.
Nice to meet you, Paul.
Always very
Nice
interesting.
to see you again.
Thank you, Paul.
Oh, yes. Nice to see everybody. So it was great. Okay, thank you.
Sacramento's Disco King and UFO researcher. You're listening to Mack Maloney's Military Exile Show here on the Distant Thunder Radio Network. We'll be right back after this. Welcome back, everyone, to Mack Maloney's Military Exile Show here on the Distant Thunder Radio Network. This is Mack Maloney. Macaroni. Well, what a show we have for you tonight. But we got about 20 minutes left, and let me introduce the survivors. JJ had to leave, but Switchblade Steve is here. Switchy.
It is great to still be here.
Philly cheesesteak omelet into the day.
With no mushrooms.
Did you eat no mushrooms? You didn't want to be tripping, folks. Hey, Liz, did you eat the whole thing, and did you bring some home?
Almost. No, I didn't bring any home, but I didn't quite eat the whole thing. I left some hash browns behind.
Wow.
And some toast.
Okay.
But,
now I'm very hungry.
I was hungry, man, so I wasn't,
Now I'm hungry.
You were messing around.
It was good, man. It was damn good.
Now I got to go to Denny's. Also with us is our security chief, Willy Clubb. Willy, looking very
Mac,
distinguished.
Great to be here.
Yes.
I'm energized. It's funny. I'm just, I could go all night, I think.
All right.
Too much information.
There you go. This is we should get an ad for Viagra if that's but after
don't need it.
After 4 hours, you got to go to the hospital. Remember that. Al Renaldo, UFO mechanic, is here hanging in with us.
Howdy, Mac. And I got to say, I'm having breakfast envy at the moment.
Breakfast envy.
Because I had nothing that sounds as good as what you had, Steve.
No, really. Also with us is our favorite psychic, Ella the psychic, our favorite redhead west of the Mississippi. Ella, thanks for joining us tonight. Okay, it was 108 degrees today in Vegas. Is that what you said?
Is it what?
It was 108 degrees in Vegas?
Yes.
Wow.
Yes, it's very, very warm today.
Man,
It's starting to cool down a little bit. It should be cooler tomorrow.
Like 99 would
still
be
up
cooler.
there.
Man, that's a lot. 108 is a little warm, I would say, right? Okay, so,
Right?
also, our favorite good witch, Raven, is with us. Raven. No bun tonight.
Hello.
No bun.
No bun.
No bun.
5 mimosas in. That's how many mimosas it takes to kill a bottle of champagne.
5.
5. For the record.
I don't have to drink any beer. She's enough for both of us. Look, So as it turns out, we talked about earlier in the show, I was a guest on Coast to Coast AM with George and Nori last week. A lot of people listened, got a lot of email and so on. But the interesting thing about that show and what makes it a delight to be on it is that they ask you to send them some sample questions, and they ask you the questions during the show. So you're very relaxed. There's really not a whole lot of stress going on. This particular case, the producer came on 30 seconds before we went on the show and said, hey, listen, we're not going to go with your questions, so just kind of roll with it. Follow George's lead. And that's what I did for 2 hours. Okay, now the second hour, we actually took questions from the audience, calls from the audience, and that was something else. One guy called in and he asked me if I had seen any anomalies like a lemonade stand in the desert during Lawrence of Arabia, the movie. Okay.
Wow.
Yeah. Okay. So that's what we're talking about, right? But anyway, so I thought it'd be interesting, just so it didn't go to waste, that we would, ask the questions now that they were supposed to ask me on Coast to Coast, and see if I can make up some good answers. So anyway, Raven has the list, so why don't we just go? Okay? These are questions that I thought they were going to ask me on Coast to Coast, but they didn't. Please, Raven.
In light of the government's June 25th report, what's different about the Pentagon's stance on UFOs?
Well, George, now what I think was different, and we talked about it a little bit earlier in the show, is that for the first time they came out and they actually admitted we don't know what UFOs are. And people have been waiting for that answer, whether they do or they don't, for decades. And they never said one way or the other. So they did come out and say, we don't know what they are. And I thought that was very interesting. Next question, please. Raven.
Next question. Did anything surprise you in the June 25th report?
We talked about it a little bit earlier in the show, and what surprised me is that they brought in the air safety factor, which, we couldn't think of any instances where UFOs have actually had collisions with airplanes, military airplanes, civilian airplanes, whatever. So it's very interesting that they would say, we have to look at these things not just as something from national security, but also from an air safety perspective. And now this report was only 9 pages long, and like 2.5 pages was made, taken up by an index. So it wasn't very, conclusive or extensive. Maybe that just ate up a page or something, But that I found that interesting that they would bring in the air safety aspect to it. Next question, please, Ray.
All right. Is there a difference between the objects caught on the Navy videos and objects people have seen in the past?
Yes, and Switch will, confirm this. Back in the 50s, people saw a lot of flying saucers, literally flying saucers. They also saw cigar-shaped objects, among many other, different shapes and sizes of UFOs. But what people are seeing now, or what they saw in certainly the Tic Tac video, is nothing like what people have seen before. It wasn't saucer-shaped. Those weren't saucer-shaped. They weren't cigar-shaped. They looked like, I don't know what they looked like. They looked like pods or something, going through the air, flying in a way that is aerodynamically impossible. So it's funny that these videos come out and they're not saucer-shaped and they're not cigar-shaped. I think that was pretty interesting. Next question, please, Raven.
Next question. Any chance the things caught on Navy videos are from Russia or China or even the CIA?
I'm going to say no, because, the Russians, forget about the Russians. The Russians are just troublemakers, and they aren't really not high technology as far as, armaments and stuff are concerned. Anyone who knows even a little about like Russian jets and Russian fighters and bombers, how they're put together, it's not high technology. China, possibly, but the thing is that, one of those videos came out in 2004. That's a long time ago, and we would know by now if the Chinese had some kind of technology like that, because we'd probably all be talking Chinese at this point. But I think they're just as in the dark as we are about it. And either the CIA, my stock answer to that is, would the CIA really use the U.S. Navy as guinea pigs, to go out and see if you can see us, see if you can take videos of us? And the higher echelons of the Navy wouldn't know about it. So I don't think they're CIA, drones or any kind of objects at all. I think, for once the U.S. military was, telling the truth. They don't know what they are. Mm-hmm. Next question, please.
Next question. Okay. Could UFO occupants be hostile?
Well, what did the Native Americans think when they saw Columbus coming? The chances are good that there's, on one hand, yes, they could be, because that seems to be how these things go. On the other hand, if they were hostile, there's no, when UFOs in wartime on sale everywhere, we do 250 different stories about UFOs encountering military, airplanes and so on. And there's maybe 2 in there that actually report like some kind of an exchange of fire between them, some kind of hostile action. They don't, generally speaking, the majority of UFO sightings, vis-a-vis the military, they don't have any hostile intent. Planes have crashed chasing UFOs, but they're not shot down. They just observe. They're just there kind of watching us. That's the one thing that I always take away from
There is
UFOs.
that weird incident that Bill Ray, the ex-military remote viewer, told us about.
Right.
With the Argentinian minesweeper.
Right, yeah.
But you're right. That's they're few and far between where there seems to be like something hostile or negative.
Right. Bill Ray out.
Well, I think we may be lunch. You never know.
Well, we'd be lunch by now, I think,
Well, we don't know. People
Yeah,
disappearing.
That's true. Well, they must be hungry. So next question, please, Ray.
Do you think the U.S. military knows what UFOs are?
No. People ask me this all the time. I think this kind of proves it. I know that they have lots of evidence that they exist, but I don't think that they know where they are, where they're from, who built them. I don't think they know anything like that. And they really just kind of came forward and admitted that, which I think is a big, deal as far as these things are concerned. Next question, please.
Should the U.S. military be the ones investigating UFOs?
No. It should be a scientific investigation, not a military investigation where they can just keep things secret. It should be a real scientific study of UFOs, meaning, you take down lots of evidence, you take down lots of data, it's peer reviewed, it's published in some science magazine. None of that ever happens with UFOs. It should be, I think what we were talking about earlier, these, really rich guys, Bezos and all these guys, I think the answer is going to come from one of them, and not from military. Next question, please, Raven.
Next question. Is the U.S. government preparing us for some kind of huge announcement down the road?
I don't know. I'm 50-50 on that. Paul Dale Roberts mentioned that earlier. I know the way sometimes the military does things is that they kind of let things trickle out a little bit at a time, baby steps to get us ready for what?
I can't even put my brain there.
Yeah, and there's other governments too around the world that really take a good look at UFOs. Belgium, Brazil, France, even England, Russia. Russia has a thing where any person in the military of Russia, there's 4 million people in the Russian military, anytime they see a UFO, they have to fill out a report and send it to the KGB or whatever the National Security Service is now. So it wouldn't be just us keeping the secret, It would be people around the world, other governments around the world, keeping the secret of what's going to happen. So I don't know about that. I don't know whether they're setting us up for something or what, but it's taken a long time for the other shoe to drop. Next question, please. Right.
Next question. What happens now? Do you think the government will release more information anytime soon?
Well, they're supposed to release another report at the end of September 2021 is when you're listening to us. And, it's supposedly it's going to be more in-depth and so on, but I get a feeling that it's just going to be more of this kind of, 10-page report. We're still studying it. We don't know, so on and so forth. I don't see any big disclosure or anything coming anytime soon. And just going back to the other question, do you think that the U.S. military or the U.S. government knows what UFOs are? Not to get into politics, but let's face it. If the president in the United States is supposed to know everything, can be told anything, all he has to do is ask. The former occupant of the White House, if he asked the question and he got back and answered that they do exist, he would have tweeted about it, 10 seconds later, because he would love to have been the president who revealed what UFOs are. He didn't. So that makes me think, once again, that they don't know what's going on. Yes, please, Raven. Next question.
Right. And the final question, what is Juan Juan really like?
See, that was the big question on Coast to Coast. That's what they really wanted to know. What's Juan Juan really like? And they wouldn't let me say. Thank God they didn't ask that question on Coast to Coast. But listen, I had a lot of fun on that show, and they have a huge audience, and some of the calls were from truck drivers. It was just, it was just like a really cool experience being on it, and they're nice people, and, you learn a lot, and it's cool to interact with people and so on. And here's the strangest thing of all, is that one of the calls came from Reno, Nevada. and it was like a long lost cousin of mine. Okay, it was the guy who, you know, all of a sudden he starts talking about, you know, visiting my house in Dorchester when I was in the 7th grade, and I'm thinking, who is this guy? And then it turns out to be like actually a step cousin of mine who lives in Reno and is he's retired now, but he was a dealer there. Hadn't seen him in 40 years.
Wow.
He heard me on the show, and he called in. Even George Norrie said, wow, what are the chances of this? Yeah, yep. So
that's great.
Yeah, it was really kind of cool. So, you know, they're competing, and competing broadcasts, and I'm sure they might look at us as, you know, this little minor competing thing. But, you know, I can't say enough good things about George Norrie and Coast to Coast AM. You know, it's always interesting. And always a lot of fun to listen to them and to be on the show. So thank you. So anyway, there we go. We got that out of the way. Right? And let's clap. Let's clap for me. This we will sweeten up. Okay, so that's the show for the night. It's been really a crazy show, but entertaining and interesting. So why don't we say goodbye to everyone? JJ has already left. We also, Paul Dale Roberts was on. Thank you, Paul, for joining us. Interesting guy. Disco King / UFO researcher. Gary Olsen, famous Hollywood author, was also on. Thanks, Gary, telling us about the first 3 science fiction movies made way, way, way back when. One of them was called Trip to the Moon. The other 2 were called Trip to Mars. You can see them on YouTube. Also, thank you, Clubb, for reading off our X-rated fan mail. Thank you.
Oh, thank you. A lot of information to digest now.
Yeah, that's for sure.
Great show.
Ella, thank you for joining us once again, brightening up the show.
Thank you. I enjoyed being here, and it was a great show. Lots of good information.
Yeah, boy, it's tough when there's 2 attractive women on the show. I'm sorry. I'm sorry for saying that, but, you know, I have to keep my thoughts to myself. Anyway, thank you. Switchy, did I thank you yet?
You can thank me as many times as you want.
Okay, thank you, Switchy. And also, Raven, thank you.
And the 5 mimosas.
And the 5 mimosas. Okay.
My 5 mimosas. I
5
had a
in.
good time. And my 5 mimosas had a good time.
Oh, that's good. That's good to hear. And Clubb, thank you very much. Thanks for everyone listening in. And I should do the plugs again, I guess. Homes for Our Troops. Homes for Our Troops is a military charity that builds homes for our wounded Iraqi and Afghan war victims, people, servicemen who have lost limbs and so on. They build these houses so they're a little more adaptable to their situation, and then they give them the keys, no mortgage, nothing. They get the house for free. They deserve it. Homes for Our Troops. Please Google them. Throw them a few bucks. And also, it seems like I just said this, but also our good friend Ross Sharp, who and his Mad Englishman friends have been rebuilding a World War II warplane called the, what is it? The Mosquito. Yes,
Mosquito
I forget that, right. And it's going to, I think it's going to take flight sometime next year, which will be really cool. People's Mosquito Project. Google them and find out what's going on with them. And I just want to thank everyone for listening, everyone for downloading our podcast, and for listening out there on our internet radio stations and also Armed Forces Radio. Thanks for joining us. And so this is Mack for the entire gang saying, until you hear us again, be safe, be happy, and
bye-bye.